43, 10, 41, and now match 6. The numbers are 48, 15, 17, 7, 40, 29. Thanks for playing the Pennsylvania Lottery. Benefits older Pennsylvanians every day.
Welcome to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We have a lot going on, as you can see. Let me run through some of these live cameras that you're taking a look at right now. So to the, I believe you're seeing it to the right of me, is live images from an ICE detention center in Delaney, New Jersey. This has been a hot ground. We're talking since Monday. We've known visitation has been suspended at that Delaney Hall ICE facility. New Jersey Governor Mikey Sherrill actually tried to gain access to that facility on Monday and was denied access. That visitation there was suspended after protesters blocked entrances and clashed with agents during a detainee transfer. Obviously, these protests are still ongoing. As you can see, again, this is a live camera. We'll let you know what's happening out there, maybe even be able to put the sound up later on throughout the stream. I just want to give you a quick pre-warning to that. You may hear some sensitive language. All right, we got a lot else going on. You can also see right below me, there's live image of the White House, where right behind it, you actually see a UFC stage. Yes, a UFC stage being built on the campus of the White House grounds. So for President Donald Trump's birthday, which is also June 14th, he's having a big celebration. He's also inviting, of course, veterans, people from the community. And one of the big things that he wants to do for America's 250th is celebrate with the UFC. You know, he really enjoys fighting. So we'll be talking about why he's putting up that stage, who else may be involved with it as this stream continues. But we've got breaking news right here in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania that I want to make sure we are getting out to. We learned just before this live stream began, a teenager was shot. One of our reporters and photographers got to the scene as quickly as they could to learn whatever it is they could. I want to bring you out to Shawnette Wilson, who's been trying to get more information on the situation with us. Shawnette, I understand this is breaking news, but what do you have so far?
So, Judea, what we know right now is that a 15-year-old was shot here in the Mayfair section of the city. He was shot in the chest and stomach. They actually saying the shoulder and his stomach, but you know, a shoulder wound could be very close to the chest. He right now is in critical but stable condition, was taken to Jefferson Torresdale Hospital, but will be transferred to CHOP, which we know is because he is a juvenile. So police telling us that this happened around 5 o'clock near the intersection here of Nesper and Battersby. Behind me, the scene just cleared, but they say that this 15-year-old was found shot on the sidewalk here. They said that he was conscious when they arrived here to take him to the hospital. Investigators telling us that he gave a description of the shooter, saying that it was someone dressed in black with a black covering over their face as well, and that person fled on foot. We talked to Chief Inspector Scott Small with the Philadelphia Police Department just moments ago. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Just after 5 p.m., 15th District Police responded to several 911 calls, report of gunshots, report of a shooting in the 3000 block of Nesper Street. When police arrived on location, they found the 15-year-old shooting victim laying on the sidewalk next to a parked car. He was bleeding, suffering from 2 gunshot wounds, one to his abdomen, one to his shoulder. He was conscious but in and out of consciousness. Police picked him up, rushed him to Jefferson Torresdale Hospital, where he is in critical condition. However, our last check with the hospital, he is expected to survive. So he's suffering from 2 gunshot wounds, one to the abdomen, one to the shoulder. Where we found him, we also found 11 spent shell casings. So we know 11 shots were fired from a semi-automatic weapon or semi-automatic weapons. We're not certain how many at this time.
All right, so back here live, you heard the chief inspector say that they found a total of 11 spent shell casings here on the scene. He did tell me, though, that 8 of them were found right near the victim, which tells them that he was shot in very close range. He also shared with us that there was a BB gun found nearby the victim. Of course, that is not what he was shot with. He was shot with an actual gun, but a BB gun for some reason was found nearby his body. You can see that people in the neighborhood are out here gathering, again, just because police just wrapped up the scene, pulled down the crime scene tape, and left. So, you know, a traumatic thing to have happen here in the neighborhood, especially at a time of day, 5 o'clock, nice sunny day. Kids are out playing on bikes, as you can see behind me, that kids are out riding around, and just a shock here to hear what has happened. Police also telling us that the victim does live nearby where he was found shot. They say that he could, you know, he's within walking distance of where he lives. As far as a motive, police at this hour do not have one, but during that news conference, a reporter did ask, you know, if they had any idea of what may have led to this. The only thing police could say is that, you know, there were no drugs or, you know, a gun recovered here. So unclear at this moment what led to the shooting. But again, what we know, a 15-year-old is in critical but stable condition, en route to CHOP right now, shot twice, a gunshot wound to the stomach and also to the shoulder area of the chest. So that's the very latest from the scene, Judea. You know, we're waiting to get updates throughout the night.
Shauna, this may be an obvious question with an obvious answer, but our audience is asking as they're just now filing into our live stream. We don't have any indication of who may have done this?
No. So, like I said, the victim was talking when police and medics arrived, and all, you know, that they were told is that the gunman was wearing all black with a mask over their face, and that the person took off on foot. No indication of who that could be, whether this person knows the shooter, or again, why, you know, he was even a target here. But according to police, clearly was a target when you talk about 8 of the 11 spent shell casings found right near the victim's body on this sidewalk here. So at this hour, again, right now, the gunman still at large. Police reviewing surveillance video in the area. We were told that there are several cameras just along the street at this intersection as well. So they will be looking at that, of course, to get any clues as to who this may be.
Got you. I just want to let our audience know the next time you're going to see Shawnette, unless there's another big breaking update, I'd love to have you on here, but the next time we should be seeing you is about 10 o'clock, and hopefully we have some more answers by then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Judea.
No problem, no problem. It's really interesting to me that Shawnette mentioned that children are out and about in that area, because if it does come out to be that this was a random shooting, it really could have been any one of them. You can literally see them behind her as she was talking. So just a wild situation that is unfolding before our very eyes. When I heard in the newsroom that our helicopter was headed to a shooting and that the victim was 15 years old, I mean, everybody was just on deck, just trying to figure out what was going on, trying to get you guys the latest information. And this comes after we are already investigating another shooting. This is a triple shooting that we're talking about, in which we've learned all 3 victims have died. So I want to be clear here. Police are telling us that these are 2 separate incidents, 2 separate shootings. They just so happen to have happened in the same city, which is Chester, Pennsylvania. So that first incident happened around 5:30 a.m. at the William Penn Housing Complex on 5th Street. They say a man died as a result of that particular shooting, but then officers were called to the 1100 block of West 9th Street around 11:30 p.m. Tuesday as well. Investigators say that 2 men in this particular shooting were found suffering from gunshot wounds to the head, and they were brought to the hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, we are now hearing that all 3 victims did not make it. So right now in this case as well, we don't have any arrests that have been reported. Police haven't been able to release a description of a suspect or suspects in this case, because they say that these are not related shootings. The police also have not identified those victims. I imagine they're trying to give family and friends the opportunity first to learn about their loved ones in a safe environment, rather than hearing about what happened on the news or on social media, and I don't blame them for that. All right, you guys, just want to remind you that this is an interactive news conversation. I see you guys joining us in the live stream chat. Joanna Santos, welcome on in to TikTok. The Fallen Are Blessed. JD, another Mike. I appreciate you guys joining with me. A lot of you guys are still coming in. I'll be able to give live updates and shout outs throughout the live stream chat, but I just want to remind you that if you have a question for a reporter, for a meteorologist, like, this is the perfect way to do it. We're streaming right now on the free Fox Local app, on all of our social media platforms. So whether you're joining us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you are able to interact with me in real time. I can actually read your comments and may be able to let you guys in on this news conversation. Now, I mentioned that you may be able to ask a question to a meteorologist. I want to be joined now by one of our finest here at Fox 29. Get you guys what's going on from our Scott Williams. Scott, what's going on out there?
Hey, Judea, on this Wednesday, it's kind of been a wild weather day. We've been keeping tabs on lots of changes here across the Delaware Valley. Of course, we dealt with those showers the first part of the day, even a few isolated thunderstorms out there. As we take a look at Ultimate Doppler, the rain, it is out of here, and we are looking at the sunshine and making a comeback across the area. So a nice sunset across the area, and temperatures are still in the upper 70s to low 80s in some locations. So the rainfall, it is getting out of here, and that will set us up for a really nice upcoming end of the week into the last weekend for the month of May. So take a look at what's going on. We have the drier air that's well to the north and west trying to move toward the Delaware Valley, which it will, especially during the day tomorrow. Now off to the south and west, we are keeping tabs on that frontal boundary that's kind of draped across the area. That will provide us with the relief as it pushes on out to sea and that drier air works its way toward the area. But the good news about this evening, most of the showers and thunderstorms are along and south and west of that frontal boundary. So we're looking at Philadelphia, 82 degrees right now. Northeast Philly at 81. We're looking at temperatures Westchester, 77 degrees. Wilmington at 79. Millville at 76 degrees. So looking pretty good for your Wednesday evening. Overnight low temperatures will be dipping to around 66 degrees for Philadelphia. Upper 50s for the Lehigh Valley. Low 60s in Millville and Hamilton. And we're looking at temperatures for tomorrow pretty uniform across the entire area, whether you're in the city. 77 degrees, Reading 75. We're looking at temperatures for the Lehigh Valley going into the low 70s, even down the shore with that land breeze. We are talking temperatures that will be in the mid 70s. So 75 degrees for Atlantic City, 76 in Cape May, and temperatures are looking pretty good once again because of that land breeze and that northwest wind that we'll have across the area. Speaking of that northwest wind, you can see what we're talking about. For tomorrow, those winds will be gusting anywhere from about 20 to 25 miles per hour. So that will allow for that drier air to work its way toward the entire area. So a noticeable change in what it will feel like across the area. Now, we talk about dew points all the time. Now, anytime we talk about dew points above 60, it's very sticky. That's when we really start to feel it, kind of the air you can wear. And then as we get those dew points in the upper 60s to low 70s, very tropical in nature. And look at Millville, dew point temperature of 72. It's 70 right now, the dew point in Wildwood. Basically, the dew point is just a measure of the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. And right now, the drier air is still far north and west. That's because we have dew points in the upper 50s. Mount Pocono, 58. Lancaster, dew point right now of 57. By tomorrow, we'll have dew points falling, get this, into the 40s. Just to give you an idea of how we're going to be talking about that dramatic change in the air mass. So we've got the dew point forecast here starting the clock at 11 o'clock tonight. And that means those dew points will be falling out of the 60s into the 50s by tomorrow morning. And then as we get toward 11 a.m., we're talking about those dew points that will be in the upper 40s as we get toward 11 a.m. So very refreshing in the forecast for tomorrow. Lots of events are taking place across the area over the next several days. And then as we move down the shore, we have the AC Air Show that's going to be taking place. Now, last weekend, we had the dreary conditions. This weekend, those temperatures looking pretty good. Lots of sunshine out there. 66 on Saturday, 67 degrees by Sunday, staying sunny. So looking fantastic over the next several days down the shore. Water temperatures are still chilly. No question about that at 57 degrees. Now, What about the Roots Picnic? It's not the unofficial start to summer until we have the Roots Picnic. That is this weekend, Belmont Plateau. Here's the bottom line to help you plan. Saturday, we're looking at sunshine. It'll be a mild day. High temperatures on Saturday, only around 70 degrees. So that is below average for this time of year. And once that sun sets, those temperatures will be dipping into the cool category. So you might want a light jacket or a little sweater for Saturday night, as low temperatures for the city will actually be getting into the low 50s. So just kind of keep that in mind. Planning out your wardrobe, planning out your outfits for this upcoming weekend. And then Sunday, a little warmer, 77 degrees. That's more average for this time of year. Of course, we've got the headliners, Jay-Z, Erykah Badu, Brandy and T.I., just to name a few out there. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast showing you just the pleasant stretch of weather as we close the books on May and move into the month of June. So certainly looking pretty good as we kind of move toward the meteorological start, Judea, of summer. That's June 1st, as well as hurricane season begins on June 1st. So a lot is going to be taking place, and it's going to happen fast.
It is going to happen fast, but you know what I appreciate? That the first of the month is falling on a Monday. I don't know why, but that feels like such a refreshing start, and it feels complete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, it seems like this month has been kind of long. It seems
Yes,
like it's
it
been
does.
a long month
It
of
went on
May.
forever.
We had the wild weather, and we're finally starting to get some consistency with the forecast.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy to see that for Roots Picnic weekend, we're looking at some pretty nice weather. Scott, thank you for giving us some good news to start off the show. We'll be checking back with you a little later on just to make sure that everything's going to stay the same. Now, while we're talking about meteorology, it's pretty close to astrology. So I don't know if you guys heard, I follow NASA on Threads, and they made the announcement that pretty soon, like we're talking June, they would be announcing their Artemis 3 crew. So everybody knows and loves the Artemis 2 crew. We got to know them when they made that mission to and around the moon. Remember, the whole plan, according to NASA, is to maybe be able to put people on the moon again, maybe permanently. Could we set up a base? That has been the biggest question. A lot of people have been paying attention to their press conferences lately. And so, again, I understand that this is something that's going to be interesting. So on June 9th at 11 a.m. our time, Eastern Standard Time, right at Johnson Space Center in Houston, NASA is supposed to provide an update about the Artemis 3 mission and supposedly announce who's going to be leading it. And I'm just curious, you know, this Artemis 2 crew was so great because we had a lot of firsts. I believe we had the first woman, we had the first African-American man, all making their way to deep outer space. And of course, we also had a man from Canada joining us, which was interesting because not every astronaut on that crew was American, was from NASA. So just, you know, who would you want to see? I don't know if maybe you guys want more celebrities. Do you want to see Katy Perry back in space again? No. Well, it's going to be interesting when we hear that update being made. Masaba357, if you are still with us, hey, how are you? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. We're going to take a quick break. We're keeping our eyes on the Phillies. And actually, before the stream began, I didn't see if the game ended, but we'll be checking in with our sports team just to see what that score is looking like when we come back. Hey guys, welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. Again, we have been keeping our eyes on the Phillies. They had a game out in San Diego, California. I understand the weather there is gorgeous, by the way. It's like mid to upper 60s, and maybe the sunshine had an impact on their game because I heard they did pretty well. I want to get right out to Marcus Beasley from our sports team. Marcus, did you watch the game?
I did. It was a pitching duel. Christopher Sanchez pitched amazing, and more importantly, the Phillies got the win 3-0, and they swept that 3-game series.
Absolutely amazing. And I heard you say at the end there, this was the end of the series, so swept. What's next?
So right now, they have the day off tomorrow, and then they will start a 3-game series in LA to take on the Dodgers. Zach Wheeler, I believe, will pitch in the first game. And then Aaron Nola and I think Andrew Painter. I'm not 100% sure, but Dodgers next, and we'll see some of the aces out west in the upcoming weekend.
Okay, now how are you feeling about that matchup, us versus the Dodgers?
I mean, it's early, so I'm not too worried about it because a lot of times when it comes to October baseball, it's all about the momentum. So what could be more one-sided for the Dodgers, say this weekend, things could change to where the Phillies are more in favor once we get to playoffs time. So, I mean, in terms of the matchup, I think the Dodgers will have the upper hand, but I'm not too worried about it. Like I said, like I've been saying, it's too early, really, to be concerned with a lot of this stuff. But the Phillies are on a hot streak, so it'll be a good series.
Okay, Marcus, well, I have anxiety, so let me know, when is the point where I'm supposed to start worrying?
I just came back from vacation. I got to deal with this now, like, really? Usually.
I just came back from vacation too.
Oh, we're connected like that.
Yep.
But yeah, in terms of the season, I mean, I don't really worry about baseball, or at least where the teams are at, until at least after the All-Star break, come, I'd say, more in August. Once when you know, like, where you are in the division, where you're looking at either the division lead, wild card, or outside looking in, that's when I feel like it's really time to focus in on how the team is or what kind of team we have, especially since the beginning of this season, the Phillies didn't do too well, fired Rob Thompson, and then we got Don Mattingly as our interim manager, to where we look like a completely different team. So, I mean, usually by mid-July to early August is when we start taking things seriously.
Got you. All right. So enough about the Phillies. Let's move on to the Philadelphia Eagles, because while people are getting so super excited about football season coming back, I know earlier today they started off something called OTAs. What is that?
So OTAs is off-season training activities. It is completely voluntary. It usually goes around sometime before the draft, so in which case they started yesterday. We actually got to see them practice today and hear from the guys today. But yeah, it's more like voluntary workouts. The mandatory workouts are going to be in the beginning of June. So these are kind of just like involuntary workouts to just get some familiarity with the team, the new additions, the draft picks, all that jazz.
Okay, so I want you to help me tease this, because soon we'll be able to let the audience listen in to a couple of different people who spoke. Of course, we're going to listen to head coach Sirianni. We're going to listen into a couple of the different players, but one person everybody was hoping to see was not there. Who was that?
That would be Mr. A.J. Brown from the Philadelphia Eagles. He was not in attendance. A couple of the guys were asked about, which I'm sure you'll hear. Saquon Barkley was asked about AJ. Jalen Hurts was asked about AJ. They say their relationship is fine. They understand in terms of the trade talks that this is a business, so they understand that he may not be in attendance because a deal might be getting made. We don't know. But they were asked. They beat around the bush, so to speak, about it, but overall the relationship is as good as it can be, I guess. But yeah, no A.J. Brown. Nolan Smith was there. He was in attendance at today's OTAs, but yeah, no A.J. Brown, unfortunately.
Okay, no, but when you say it's a voluntary practice, that means the players can pick and choose if they want to come, so it could also be maybe he just didn't want to come to that particular practice?
It could easily be like that. I mean, if work was voluntary, I don't think these lovely people here would see either you or myself. I mean, I like my job too, but if they're saying you don't have to come in, then it's just like, yeah,
Go get this paycheck. Hey.
I mean, like I said, just came back from vacation, and an extra day wouldn't hurt, you know?
PTO is
Just-
amazing.
Exactly. Got a lot of it.
Okay. Well, like I said, for the audiences out there, don't worry. We're not just going to talk about it. You guys are actually going to get to listen into what some of those players had to say. Marcus, I appreciate you for joining me. We'll see you again, or maybe another member of our sports team in the 9 o'clock hour. But that's what we've got going on in the sports world so far. All right. Still ahead. First and foremost, I want to get you that live look that we led with at the top of the show. This all happening in Delaney, New Jersey, where, as you can see, there are a lot of protesters gathered outside an ICE detention center. Now, this is a protest happening today on Wednesday, but we know things have been hot over there since at least Monday, probably before then. Visitation was suspended at this particular facility, and actually met one of our leaders, the New Jersey leader, Governor Mikey Sherrill, tried to gain access to that facility, and he himself was told you can't come in. So as you can see, a lot of people have gotten out there. Tensions are high. You can see the officers, they're all geared up, facing off against those protesters, trying to keep the calm in the audience. Now, if we are able to, can we just turn the volume up, although it looks like that camera shot may have frozen. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm hearing that it is frozen. So we'll try to get back out to it, but that was a live image that you were taking a look at up until that point. Oh, okay, we've got it back. Let's see what's going on. Again. All right, as I mentioned, we probably were going to hear some pretty sensitive language, and I do believe we were hearing them chant F you. Hopefully I'm wrong about that, but later on we'll try to get back out there just to see if things have calmed down, if anybody is actually speaking. You know, sometimes during these types of protests, they'll have one person leading off the group. They'll say some words, maybe pass on their megaphone to someone else. That could be a possibility here. We'll be checking in throughout the evening. As long as this camera is up and it's streaming live, you guys will get that type of visual. Now, still ahead, you guys know Raul Castro, Cuban, was indicted recently, and Cuban Americans have been weighing in. I mean, when we heard that Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela was captured, my first question was, well, how do Venezuelans feel about this? So now my question here with Castro is, how are the Cuban Americans taking it? We'll be checking in with Amy Gallo from Fox News to see how they're taking it in Miami. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. Got a special treatment interview coming up for you guys. So as you all know, the Trump administration is showing absolutely no signs of letting up on the pressure campaign against Cuba. For now, though, even with the economy on the verge of a collapse here, the government in Havana isn't backing down either. And I'm sorry, we're talking about Cuba. In an exclusive interview with Fox, Cuba's foreign minister actually accused the U.S. of threatening the communist country militarily, and they even called the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, a liar. So we're joined now by Fox News' Amy Gallo, actually live for us, reporting from Miami. Amy, I understand that you've been speaking with Cuban Americans all day long in Little Havana. What do they have to say about all of this?
Judea, everyone I spoke to today told me they're not shocked to see this kind of reaction from the Cuban regime, and they all said they want to turn those accusations of dishonesty made by the foreign minister right back around at him.
Bruno Rodriguez and all of them are liars. They cannot claim that Marco Rubio is a liar, because what he is saying about life in Cuba is the truth. They are the liars who have been lying since 1959.
Cuba's foreign minister Bruno Rodriguez sat down exclusively with Fox's Jillian Turner and pushed back when asked about Secretary Rubio's recent comments on the Cuban regime posing a national security threat to the U.S. He repeatedly called Rubio, the son of Cuban immigrants, a liar, claiming he knows, quote, nothing about Cuba. Rodriguez also questioned the timing of the indictment against former Cuban leader Raul Castro, Fidel Castro's brother. The 94-year-old is facing 4 murder charges in the U.S. connected to the 1996 shootdown of 2 planes flown by a Miami-based humanitarian group.
We will have to ask the U.S. government, why did it wait for 30 years to do this? We will have to ask, what is the ethical value? What is the legal value behind these allegations right now? Or if this is part of the political narrative aimed at manipulating the U.S. public opinion to justify a military aggression against Cuba.
The Cuban Americans I spoke with today told me this indictment is long overdue.
I don't know why the world and everyone, even the United States, had to wait 30 years to bring these charges. They should have brought it about immediately.
Too many years went by because there were no other presidents who had the courage to do this. But I think this was the right move. I think Castro needs to be punished, and harshly.
The Justice Department has issued a warrant for Castro's arrest, but it's not likely that Cuba's just going to hand him right over. However, the acting Attorney General Todd Blanche has said he does expect to see Castro in the U.S. eventually, quote, by his own will or another way. Back to you, Judea.
Okay, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I do have a question for you since you were talking to people. I get the sense from listening to their translated interviews that obviously the people you talk to, they wanted to see this happen. Do you get the sense that they feel optimistic about justice actually being served, or is there any skepticism, like, yes, he's been indicted, is there skepticism that it'll actually go somewhere afterward?
There's a lot of optimism right now, at least within the Cuban community, the people I spoke to here in Miami. They think that this indictment, though long overdue, like they told me, because it's happening now, gives them a sense of hope. They never thought that Raul Castro would be indicted for this. So this is a win for them, and they're hoping that it leads to more change on the island, and they're all hoping, at least the folks I talked to today, for regime change and a peaceful one.
Got you. Now, when Todd Blanche says by his own will or another way, when he's referring to Castro, have we gotten to hear from, I don't know, legal experts or any other sources out there what America would actually look like in trying to bring that justice? Like, how would that actually work? Do you know?
We've seen security experts. I actually heard one after my live shot with Live Now earlier today. Just heard the start of what he was saying, but he talked about how this reminds him of what happened in Venezuela. I think you were talking about that earlier too, Judea. So we saw that happened. We saw him being taken into custody, Maduro. So there is questions as to whether that's what this could look like for Cuba, but of course we have no idea right now.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for bringing us the latest. As I mentioned, when we saw everything happen, when the Venezuelan leader was captured, we actually saw videos of people cheering. It always interests me of how the people who are actually impacted, you know, primarily, or have family back home who are impacted, I always wonder how they're actually taking the news. So it is interesting to get your perspective out in Miami. So I appreciate you joining us here all the way in Philadelphia. All right, you guys, let's bring this back on in here. I'm taking a look at some of our live cameras. Let's see if we can bring you back out to New Jersey real quick, just as a reminder that we are keeping an eye on what's happening. This is a live protest right outside an ICE detention center in Delaney, New Jersey. Still trying to get more information on what their hope is here. I can tell you at the beginning of this week, we did get word that visitation had been suspended at that facility. We also know that there have been multiple protests in the days that have come since Monday. Obviously, you can see one is happening right now. Meanwhile, officials and advocates are giving conflicting accounts. The Department of Homeland Security is saying that these protesters are agitators. Critics are raising concerns about the conditions and transparency inside the facility. So, you know, it's a question of are these people out here for no reason, or do they have an actual thing going on here? They're hoping for some change within. So we'll keep our eyes on what's going on there, giving you live shots all throughout the evening. I also want to take you real quick to the White House, all the way in DC. As I mentioned earlier, there's some construction going on behind it. I mean, well, there's some construction going on all around the White House and DC, just in general. We know the ballroom, we know the reflecting pool, which we'll get into a little bit later, but of course this right here that you're taking a look at is going to be a UFC stage that is supposed to be up and running, ready to go by June 14th, which is actually President Donald Trump's 80th birthday, but it's also supposed to be a celebration for America's 250th. He's hoping to invite a lot of people out there on the White House lawn. I think he's talking about a couple 10,000 joining him for this exciting thing. So throughout this live stream, we'll be able to give you some more information on what exactly is taking place out there. But while we had these live cameras, I just wanted to make sure that we were staying up to date. Now, a little later on in the live stream, I just want to tease this that's coming up. We know Vice President J.D. Vance is on his way to Denver, Colorado to speak. We also know that out in Texas, there's going to be a rally it's a campaign rally. It's being hosted by James Tallarico, of course, a Democrat out there in Texas. He's going to be running against Ken Paxton, which, by the way, is a President Donald Trump pick for the seat. So it's going to be interesting to see the people who come in, what they'll be talking about. Hopefully we'll be able to give you a live look from inside that room as well. This is Philadelphia Live, where we bring you breaking news, live news, and of course updates on anything and everything that's happening right here in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and when we can, we bring you national and international news as well. Now, still ahead, I mentioned that we were going to be able to hear from some of our favorite Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles are actually doing their OTAs, as our Marcus Beasley was telling you about a little before. It's practices that they've got going on before the preseason and before the actual season. So we'll be able to hear from head coach Nick Sirianni when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. You are taking a live look outside South Philly. As you can see, the traffic rolling in. I don't know if I'm just seeing the blinking lights because of the camera shutter speed or whether I was seeing emergency vehicles just a second ago. But I can tell you the traffic looks pretty good whether you're coming in or coming out. You can also see Lincoln Financial Field in the background. We're looking at a pretty decent day in the city of Philadelphia. I'm hoping that that weather stays with us as long as possible. But out happening in San Diego, the Eagles have kicked off their spring practices. Reporters actually got their first glimpse at what the team is going to look like. Coach Sirianni and a couple of players got to speak to the press, which we all loved. We all got to see it. But missing from the action was A.J. Brown. I talked to Marcus Beasley from our Fox Sports team here about that. And, it's possible, a lot of rumors are out there that trades are in the works. We don't know. We haven't gotten any indication that that's true. But it's interesting to see that he was not present. But Sirianni spoke before his guys did, so let's go ahead and listen into that together.
I think Jalen, one thing that's really special about Jalen is just how consistent he is with his approach to getting better every single day, regardless of, if we're calling a concept one thing or we're calling a concept another thing, or who the play caller is, or who his quarterback coach is. Just consistency from Jalen with how he approaches a daily process, and I always admire that about him. Yeah, obviously, any conversation I have with any player will always stay private. With that being said, we address everything. We talk about everything. We talk when it's appropriate to talk about it with the individual. We talk about it with the individual. When it's appropriate to discuss it as a team, I'll choose to discuss it as a team. So yeah, it's important. Obviously, what's so important is that we learn from our mistakes and we, not only on the football field, but in the community as well, and we try to get better from those things. And everything that we go through is a teachable moment, on the field, off the field, and that's a big part of getting better. And so, like I said, everything we address, it's just a matter of how we do that with our players. But that's why it's so important that you're in constant communication with your players, have good relationships with your players. Not that every conversation is going to be, hey, lovey-dovey, right? There's hard conversations, there's tough conversations, there's conversations where you laugh, there's conversations where you cry, there's conversations where you go through a process of that. So yeah. Sure. Again, it's about the best situation that we can put the players of the Philadelphia Eagles in, and what is our scheme going to be as a Philadelphia Eagles. And I think that changes year in, year out, whether it's the same coordinator or you promote from within or if you go from the outside. And so we're always doing what we think we need to do to help our players put them in the best positions to succeed, to do what they do well. And Sean's done an awesome job thus far, and just really like the command that he has in front of the room, and the conviction that he has in front of the room, and the knowledge that he has in front of the room. And so, yeah, we'll see how that looks. We got a long time before we play. We got a lot of practices to go through before we play a game. This is about figuring out what we do well, what we can do well, and sharpening our tools that. You can run any scheme you want, but if you can't block, if you can't catch, if you can't protect the football, it doesn't really matter. So all those things that aren't looked at as sexy, right, the dirty work stuff, that's what we're working on perfecting right now as we get to know some new terminology and some new things, the way the offense goes, and for that matter, some of the new things. What I love about Coach Fangio is Coach Fangio has continued to evolve his as a coordinator. Throughout his entire career, and the new things that he's doing, it's never the same year in, year out. So that's what we're working on right now.
Nick, none of your O-line and your starting O-line have ever had a different position coach than Stout. What have you seen from Chris Cooper as far as within those
Yeah, I don't think, again, it's not about the win over. It's about daily doing what your job is supposed to be. And that's the players doing that with Chris and to us as a coaching staff, and us as coaches doing that with them. You're constantly putting deposits in the bank by building trust by, your knowledge, your conviction, daily work. And that's what we're working on right now is that, and that's on both ends. Like, these guys have to build trust with him, and he's got to build trust with them. It's not a one-way street, and it never is. And so that's what we're working on right now. But I love the way Chris comes to work. I've been with the offensive line for the last 5 years. I love how they come to work and with an attempt to get better every single day. And then the same thing on Chris's part. Great knowledge for the game, great ability to connect with players, great knowledge of the scheme, of the different types of things that we're going to be doing. And then just great growth mindset to figure out things that he may have has not done in the past. So that's what we're working on at this particular moment, and that's what's going on. Yeah, again, there's a learning process for what's important, that regardless of carryover, regardless of everything, what's important that everyone needs to do at this time of year is start back at square one and build our habits again from square one. We do that with our fundamentals. We do that with our schemes. We do that with our core values. And so everybody is, and that's what we've tried to do throughout the 5 years. We don't, just because you've been together, the offense has been the same or the defense has been the same, that doesn't mean you just assume that everyone's at phase 4 of where they need to be. No, you start back at square one. You start back at the little minute details, because we all need reminded on that. Like, shoot, I'll be giving the similar messages all year, because it's the relentless approach of the things that you believe in that you need to do on a daily basis. And so that's where we're at right now, is everybody starting at square one, because that's kind of how we go about our off-season program. Yeah, again, he's just going through the process. We don't have pads on right yet. Obviously, a big part of the evaluation on offensive linemen, and for that matter, any position, it's football, right? You see how laser focused I was into that distraction? I mean, it happens all the time, right? So, you're staying. So, but this is about performing our fundamentals. There's something I've talked a lot to the guys about. There's some of the things that are happening right now is like invisible progress. Like, you just have to keep going on little fundamental things, understanding that you might not see, the proof of it quite yet. And that's sure as heck a statement for an offensive lineman who really has to go with the physicality of things that has to happen when they play. But it's about those little things, the mental portion of it. I think he's really sharp mentally of being able to pick things up. It seems like he's learning something new every day, and, handles the volume that has been thrown at him in a very positive manner. And so, and you like the ability that he has to move and his obvious freakish size when he's out there. So he's had good drills and done really well in drills, has done really well in the classroom, and we look for him to continue to develop in that. But nobody's a finished product right now, as you guys know. I know you guys know that. Like, nobody's a finished product, and we're very early on in the stages of this. We're going to make mistakes out there at practice today as players. We're going to make mistakes out there as practice as coaches. But the mindset has to constantly be is like, okay, made a mistake today. You should be hungry for that and understand how much you can improve on every mistake that you make, and for that matter, every positive thing that you do. And so this is a long process that we're being diligent about every single day to continue to get better. I know it's like, oh, that's coach speak. That's just really how we live and how we go about our business, of just staying locked into the present. Yeah. Again, it's a process. All right. It's a process in that, like, trust is built through, hardships together. Trust is built as you go through this with time spent together. Trust is built through daily showing up and doing what you're supposed to do. Right. And so it takes time. Like I said, I admire about Jalen is just one of the things I admire about Jalen is his commitment to get better every single day and his commitment to the process. And when you do that, you build that trust with people. And Sean's here at all hours of the day. I'm not sure I've beat Sean in here yet this year, and I'm not sure I've left earlier than him, or I've always left earlier than him to this point. Like, he grinds and he does what he's supposed to do and works really hard at his craft. And so, like, you admire that, but that takes time, and that's built. And so that's what we're working on right now. Again, all this is a process, I think. And I understand your guys' questions because, like, I haven't talked to you in a while. Let me ask some of these questions. And I guess my answer to most of them has been, well, it's a process. It's a process. It is. It's not. I'm not trying to give you guys just coach speak. It's just the way it is. But we talk about that trust a lot, of how that's built, and those are really, the hardships, the time that you spend, and consistently doing what you're supposed to do is what builds those things. So, and those guys don't miss. Sean and Jalen, what I admire about them is they don't miss a day on that. So whatever day we're on right now, 50, I don't think it's that high, but 30, whatever, that's how far along we are in the relationship, because I'm not sure that either of those guys have missed a day where they've, of doing what they're supposed to do because of who they are. I'd have to look there. We've had, what I'm excited about of the attendance that we've had of the guys that have been here, and excited to work with the guys at this point of the season. And but I would have to go back, Jeff, and look at that. And but I know this about Devontae. Every day he's here, he's working his butt off. Yeah.
We love to hear it. So you heard Coach Sirianni said that he was excited to work with the guys ahead of this upcoming season. Are you excited to see the guys play? I do hear that preseason will begin in August. The first game we're expecting sometime in September. And then remember, I think they're supposed to have an international game this time around, right? Are they headed to London? See, I knew. All right, you guys, still ahead. We got a lot to talk to you about. I want to bring some trending news. We're going to check in with Jake Leonard to see what's Philly talking about. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. There is so much happening today. If it's breaking news, if it's live news, we're trying to bring it to you right here on Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. This is Jake Leonard.
Hello,
Jake,
hello.
what's Philly talking about?
So I have an update for a sad story that's been drawn out for a really long time.
Okay.
So I'm talking about Matthew Perry.
Ooh, Friends.
So yes, Friends. So you can remember a couple years ago, he overdosed in his hot tub. And so over the last couple years, you know, more information has been coming out. More people have been charged, sentenced.
Mm-hmm.
So today, Kenneth Iwamasa, so he was his longtime assistant, he was charged to 3 years and 5 months in federal prison. And he was also ordered to pay a huge fine, $10,000, and serve 2 years of supervised release. So basically, what they're saying is that he was the primary person providing Matthew Perry with ketamine. He was charged back in August 2024. And, you know, the way that the legal system works, it's kind of been playing out over that time. But today, he was finally sentenced.
It's interesting for me to see a charge in what they're saying is, I guess, aiding to an overdose. I've gotten to see in my time being a journalist that this is getting more and more common, where they're getting like drug dealers who may have supplied teens with the fentanyl that ends up killing them and stuff like that. So to see it on a celebrity level is pretty interesting.
It's pretty upsetting, you know, like what they're saying is, you know, he didn't have any medical training, but he administered more than 25 ketamine injections to Matthew Perry in the days leading up to his death. So on the day that he passed, back in October 2023, you know, Perry requested the big one. So Kenneth listened, did an injection, and then left the house to run errands, and then came back to find Perry dead in the jacuzzi.
So, okay, hold on. Let me back up. When you say the big one, what do you mean?
So people were saying Perry had requested the big one. Basically, I guess he might have been in a lot of pain that day, or felt like he needed it. So basically, was kind of asking for
dosage,
more
but
than
not
usual.
necessarily asking for.
No,
you know
no,
what
no,
I'm
no.
trying to
Yeah. No.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, and then also after the overdose, he tried to cover it up, you know, by like trying to get rid of any of the records of the ketamine, getting rid of it, and then obviously he lied to investigators when they were asking him about the situation.
I mean, obviously, because he has been sentenced, we know he's been convicted. That's why we're able to say what we're saying here.
Yes.
Very interesting. I wonder, with 3 years, and then I think you said 2 years afterward, they'll have to do some service. I just wonder what our audience thinks of the 3 years. Is that enough? Do they think he needs more? You know.
It's really interesting because, you know, his side, his defense attorneys were arguing that the only reason he was doing what he was doing was, you know, Perry was his superior, and he
gave me an order,
and he might have felt pressured, you know, he felt like he couldn't say no. So that's it's an interesting, you know, because there could be an argument for that, but also, you know, what he was doing was very illegal and very bad. So
well, we've got the article, as you guys could see, up on our website if you'd like to read a little bit more about it. And again, I would like to see you guys weigh in. Maybe you'll be able to do that on our social media. Have we posted it? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Jake, thank you for bringing that to us. We'll be checking in with you all throughout the night just to see what else is trending. And of course, eventually, I got to get you my question of the night. I need y'all to weigh in. All right. Still ahead, we have an important conversation coming up. We talked about the ICE detention center, but also data centers have been a really, really big deal across the tri-state. We'll be touching base with Jill, one of our reporters, on how that's playing out right here in our neck of the woods in Pennsylvania. We'll be right back. Philadelphia Live. As you guys can imagine, data centers have been the topic of discussion for a lot of different communities. Some residents say they don't want them in their areas. Other residents say that this is a great opportunity for expansion for the economy. I want to check in with Jill, who has been out reporting from one of these meetings that's happening as we speak. I hear that residents have been able to voice their concerns. Is that true, Jill?
Yeah, they're about to, Judea. Good evening to you. So I'm at a planning committee right now in Upper Marion Township. It's still going on as we speak. It started at 7. They expect it to go on until the 10 o'clock hour. So things are really just getting started. We heard from representatives of the developer about that plan, and they were kind of making their case about why something like this is needed. And then community members, there will be open comment as well. And they will be able to share their side. So you will hear both sides today. Very passionate people. And I will be honest with you, Judea, I've never seen a meeting pack so many people. You have standing room in there. So there's an overflow even in the hallway and in the staircase that it's just people really came out. They're really passionate. I haven't seen anybody for this that has been here, but I'm sure hopefully there's somebody, so both sides are being represented, but a lot of people are in opposition. There's a lot of yelling when the guy on the developing side was sharing their viewpoints, and people, it was pretty heated, if I do say so myself. There's no voting happening tonight. They said that more meetings like this will take place before anything like that happens. Now, the land development applications being discussed, there's 5 different proposals. You have 2100 Renaissance Boulevard, that's at 187,000, over 187,000 square feet. 3200 Horizon Drive, that's over 370,000 square feet. Then you have 2201, 2301, 2501, 2701, and 2901 Renaissance Boulevard. That cluster together just under 2 million square feet. And then Sweetland Road, 411 Sweetland Road, just over 1.5 million square feet. So a lot of proposals in a really small area. And then you have a preliminary land development submission for 600 River Road. That's 450,000 square feet. And just for comparison, a NFL football field is just over 57,000 square feet. So just so you have a visual there. Public comment, like I said, that's available. And Upper Marion Township, they provided a long statement. I did share that during the 4 o'clock. But I'll say one thing: under the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, MPC, and this is some of their quote in part, these applications were formally submitted prior to the enactment of a new ordinance that kind of hankers down on a lot of things when it comes to these data centers. However, all existing ordinances regarding light, noise, and public safety will be strictly enforced. And they said they're working with the developer of the proposed data centers to comply with the recently adopted ordinance, though they're not required to do so. And this is a very popular topic today. You have Governor Josh Shapiro. He released the Governor's Responsible Infrastructure Development, so the GRID initiative today. And that there are GRID certificates that developers, they're available by the state, and they're encouraged to do that. It's to really hold them more accountable. And then on the New Jersey side, you have Governor Mikey Sherrill released something similar today too. So both governors, both sides of the river, really focusing on data centers as well.
Oh, for sure. Okay, when you gave us that size comparison, I'm glad you're able to break it down, that this is obviously much bigger than a football field. I was reading somewhere that if all of those different areas, you gave us a couple of different addresses, if they were all approved, we're talking about something that would be much, much bigger than even Philadelphia's International Airport. So also put
this
that in
would be massive. So yeah, so it's understandable why people are out here. A lot of people don't want it near their home. A lot of people don't want it. They have concerns about water. They have they have valid concerns that a lot of people here today, when I spoke with them before the meeting started, they're like, I want to hear their side. I want to hear what other people have to say and then come to my own conclusion. So a lot of people here just have questions, and they see this as the perfect platform to do some more research and use this as a landing point, or a point to get to their own conclusion. So people just really want to learn.
Understood. And it makes sense that they're saying that this is just one of many more meetings that they're hoping to have. Obviously, open up the dialogue. I'm interested in seeing how they take some of the criticisms, that they do get to hear them on a microphone. So I know your photographer is there with you. Maybe we'll be able to dip into this live. I'm gonna let you get back in there just so you don't miss anything big. Next
Of
time we're
course.
gonna see you though is
Thanks.
10 o'clock, right?
Yes. Yep.
All
10
right.
o'clock live. See you
All right.
then.
See you then. Wow. Okay. She mentioned what's going on in Pennsylvania. She mentioned Governor Josh Shapiro. She mentioned what's going on in New Jersey. She mentioned Governor Mikey Sherrill. But I also want to let you know that Delaware's lawmakers are also weighing in this. They've got their own irons in the fire. They say that they're trying to make data centers pay higher rates. So they say if you're going to be in our areas and you're going to inconvenience us, if you're going to take up our water, you have to pay extra. So they've introduced some legislation that would aim to protect ratepayers as the increasing demand threatens the surge in electricity bills, and as I mentioned, maybe even potentially the water. So this legislation would require Delmarva Power, which is a subsidiary of Exelon, to create a separate higher electricity rate for customers that use more than 50 megawatts a month. And obviously these centers would be some of those customers that use a whole lot more power. So that's something that's going on right here in our tri-state that's affecting every single one of us. I wanted to make sure that we are all aware and up to date on everything that's happening. Again, you'll see Jill a little later on at 10 o'clock. But I also want to get you guys ready for the weekend because it's the Roots picnic. I know everybody's super excited. I'm not going to lie to you though. When I saw those tickets, I said, absolutely not. But then I was like, maybe I will. And then I looked at the tickets as the days went on and on. I procrastinated, got to today. Tickets are not available. So if you are like me and you're looking for other things to do, I want to bring in Abigail right now, joining us live. She works for us here at Fox 29 Philadelphia, and you always have insight to the hottest things going on. So what's going on for this weekend?
You know, before I get started, I do want to say I'm right there with you. I spoke with my friend about it. We were like, okay, let's get these tickets. They just came out. $250 isn't as bad. But I looked and I was like, maybe next year's my year. Maybe next year's my year. So, but anyway, for this weekend, there's a lot going on. But I do want to acknowledge what's going on today, which is going to be ongoing throughout the whole summer. So first, Center City Sips kicked off today at the new restaurant and bar in Dilworth Park. So if you don't know what Center City Sips is, it's basically a citywide happy hour that happens every Wednesday from 5 to 7. And you can get apps and drinks and stuff for under $10, which is, you know, pretty good. So that's something to look forward to on Wednesdays. And then also Art Philly is kicking off their first ever citywide festival featuring different forms of art all across the city. So that is another thing. It runs until July. And then we have courtside and cocktails to kind of get that networking part of the Roots picnic on at Ballers. It's going on until 11. So if you're catching FOMO and you want to go to it, to our viewers, you know, feel free to get there before 11 and, you know, make some connections, speak with some people, get ready for the Roots picnic. But I understand not everybody's going to the Roots picnic, but there are a lot of festivities coming up that, you know, you can get involved in. You can still celebrate the hype and everything. So we start with Thursday. There's
Keep going.
We start with, but no, I agree. I'm so glad that there are these like other events that are more cost effective and they sound really cool. So first up, we have the Pride Soiree. So that one's free if you RSVP before 10:30. And so basically you can hear from a lot of local people. It's being hosted by one of our big local people as well. You can check out that flyer for the entire lineup. And then we go to Friday, which is the free Roots Conference at Ballers. It's a creative professional event bringing together industry executives, creators, and community leaders. There are several panels from 11 a.m. to 3:15. So even if you have a break and you're nearby, I know a lot of people work between those hours, or maybe you don't. So you can go, once again, make connections with people in the industry. And then we have the celebrity basketball game. So this is featuring a whole bunch of local celebrities, also people from afar. First, a couple that I want to mention are rappers Skilla Baby, Too Rare, and then a former Eagle, Terrell Owens. And then, you know, another NFL player, Keon Coleman, and so many more people. So go check that out. And then there's the Delirious Comedy Show at Punchline. So this one was created by Black Thought from The Roots, of course. And I'll be honest, I went on the site and I wasn't sure if tickets are available. It's saying it's sold out, but at the bottom it says that the map doesn't reflect ticket availability. So that one, I was trying to get clarification, haven't yet, but if I do, keep up with my Instagram and TikTok, I'll have those updates for you. And then we have the kickoff party at the Brooklyn Bowl at night, to get those vibes on. And then we also have a conversation with Marcus J. Moore and one of our Roots performers, Bilal, at the Fiddler Club. So if you want to see him before he even goes on stage, feel free to go to that.
That sounds exclusive.
And then we go to Sunday. We have more exclusives with performers.
Oh,
at the City Winery, we have Tidra Moses, Music Soul Child, and Raheem Devon. I believe, if I recall, Tidra Moses is performing. I don't want to misquote, so make sure you reread that flyer. But either way, very exciting musicians coming here, of course. And then we also have after parties with Mariah the Scientist and Kalani. If you're not able to make the festival, you can go to those. And once again, more cost effective than a ticket to the Roots Festival. And so you don't catch FOMO. I know I really want to hear Folded live. I really want to hear a couple Mariah the Scientist songs live. So you never know. You might catch me there. You never know.
You might catch me there too.
And then we have a couple other events outside of the Roots Picnic. I would like to dub this weekend Music Weekend, just because of how many music events we have. But then again, I guess we always have a lot of music events, but especially with this one and then the other festivals, I feel like it's fair to call it that,
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
So next up we have Philly Porch Fest in West Philly. So this is exactly what it sounds like. Musicians on porches across West Philly just performing across different genres. You have DJ sets, you have the full 9 yards. So that should be fun to hear the different sounds just across the city, literally on people's porches. And that one you might catch me there too. There are over 230 shows so far. I checked the website like a couple minutes ago. So, there's something for everyone there. And then we have another free show by Philly Pops. And then you can also catch Philly and New York artists at the Wire Festival. This one is unfortunately not free, but it is under $20. So if you're trying to budget and you have a little room, that's another thing to check out. And then if you kind of want to get active and go dancing, there's salsa on Spruce Street, at the Spruce Street Harbor Park, and at the Bach Bar. So you can do a double feature this weekend, or you can go to the Rail Park for a dance series. And then a couple more things. We have Fan Expo, which is great, especially great if you love comics, gaming, or better yet, TV shows like Lord of the Rings. There are a lot of celebrities coming. We have Orlando Bloom. We have David Tennant from Doctor Who. We have Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings, and also a voice actor in Happy Feet. And then we have Sean Astin from Lord of the Rings as well. And then Gary Anthony Williams from Malcolm in the Middle. So, we really do have a star-studded weekend ahead of us, like across industries, it seems.
It sounds amazing to me. First of all, you had me when you started talking about the different genres that we'll be able to listen to with Porch Fest. I think you had all of us when you talked about Sips. Yes. As soon as you said that, everyone said, "Oh, I forgot." So I think we already know where we're going even after the show ends. And then there was that one event that you told us it doesn't end until 11. Bring that back one more time because our show ends at 10. So
Yes, it is the, hold on, let me double check. I don't want to get the name wrong. Courtside and Cocktails at Ballers. So that goes on until 11. So it's a really good way to network for the weekend ahead.
Network, get some sips in. It all sounds good to me. I appreciate you giving us this, wrap up of everything that's going on, because I know there are a lot of people out there like myself who either forgot, procrastinated, thought that maybe they could get a cheaper ticket if they waited long enough and people started reselling. But when we're looking at the lineup, I don't know that there are going to be a lot of people who don't want to go. The weather's going to be super nice this weekend. So we're just going to be outside the club hating. There's little
Right,
that we
right.
can't get in.
Yeah, it's okay though. It's okay. Maybe next year will be our year. I'm not gonna lie, I will catch FOMO this year. Will you?
Yeah, absolutely. Once I see
Yeah.
that content coming on social media, I'm gonna be like, well, it could have been me. I literally looked at the tickets. I had them in my basket, and I didn't hit submit. So, you know, it is what it is.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm glad we can commiserate. Misery loves company. Abigail, tell people where they can find you. You mentioned your social media. I've told people that you post about this stuff all the time. How can they stay up to date with you?
Yes, they can find me on TikTok or Instagram, whichever you prefer. All Abby Chocolato, ABBYCHACOLATO.
You will never miss out again if you follow her and keep an eye on her content. Thank you so much for having some time for us here on Philadelphia Live.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Still ahead, you guys. I mentioned that there are going to be a big event happening all throughout this live stream. Still ahead, James Tallarico from Texas, he's a Democrat. He's hosting his own rally. I'm seeing a lot of people hit the podium. He has not come out to speak just yet. We'll see if we can take a listen in, but if not, then I also want to bring you on out. President Donald Trump earlier today held a cabinet meeting, and the press, we were invited in. So we actually got to listen in to what he and some of his allies are talking about doing. They talked about the Iran war. They talked about some of the construction happening around the White House. They even talked about the reflecting pool, of course. So we'll get into all of it and more when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. We've got a lot happening all around the U.S. right now. I want to bring you all out to what's happening in Texas. There's actually a general election campaign rally happening right now for Texas Democrat U.S. Senate nominee James Tallarico. What you're seeing, the camera's panning around, showing the audience, but there's actually a woman on stage who's kind of getting the crowd worked up and ready for maybe some questions, maybe for him to come out. But I want to let you know he's actually going to face off against Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton, who recently won his particular race in the primary runoff elections. Now, again, this was so that President Donald Trump could get a nominee, a pick in the fire, if I can say that. So again, it looks like she's getting the crowd worked up and ready for what's to happen next. I can't tell if we're at a standstill. It looks like we are. Yes, they're getting ready for the next part. So I want to bring you out. President Donald Trump actually held a meeting earlier today with his cabinet. He talked about a lot of different topics. In this particular little bit that I cut for you guys, you're going to hear him talk about the war with Iran, and then he also talks about the latest with that construction of the reflecting pool. Remember, he just decided he wants to paint it, what is it, American flag blue. Not everybody's happy about it, so I'll let you listen in with that.
Another man doing a fantastic job, I think we all agree, is Marco. You're all over the place, right? I watched you last night in 3 different locations. So tell us about Iran.
Well, first of all, the bottom line is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. And if recent events have done anything, is just remind us once again that they are the world's leading sponsor of terrorism. And they can never have a nuclear weapon. Now, the president's preference, Mr. President, your preference is told us repeatedly, is always to negotiate these things and to figure out if you can have agreements. Diplomacy is always the first option. And we continue to work on that through your envoys, Mr. Woodcock and Kushner and others, the vice president, who've been very involved. And if there's an agreement to be made, we want that to be made. I think there's been some progress and some interest, and we'll see over the next few hours and days whether progress could be made. I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, you know this well, you have other options available to you if that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated diplomatic route, and we're going to give it every chance to succeed. You know, you're giving it every chance to succeed, Mr. President. But here's the bottom line, because I keep getting asked, what is this all about? It's very simple. Iran and these people in charge of Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and they will never have a nuclear weapon, and they most certainly will not have one as long as you're President of the United States. On that point, it's very clear. Just 2 quick things I want to touch upon. One, you touched upon the border and security. Part of securing our border is dealing with the people that are in this country unlawfully, many of whom do not want to go back to the country that they originally came from for a variety of reasons. Either we can't send them there or some judge ties us up. And one of the key things we have achieved is now 20 countries have signed third country national agreements, meaning these are safe countries where individuals who refuse to go back to their country of origin can be sent to that country instead. We've gotten 20 countries now around the world who have signed agreements that allow us to deport people to those places. What often happens when you go to the person who's here unlawfully and say, we're going to send you to this third country, is all of a sudden they decide they'd rather go back to their home country instead. So it gives the ability to enforce our laws, and we work very closely with the Department of Homeland Security on that front. Something else that I know is concerning people, because it's on the news, is Ebola. Our number one obligation, you know, we're involved in foreign policy, but even our foreign policy, the number one priority of our foreign policy is to protect the American people. We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States. And so the State Department and other agencies represented here, the Centers for Disease Control, HHS, others, are working very, very hard to contain this crisis to the countries where it's currently located, particularly the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so we've surged assistance to make sure that is being contained there. And obviously, multiple agencies involved here are also very involved in tracking people, just to make sure that nobody comes into this country that has Ebola and creates a problem for us. And we feel like we've got good efforts in place to do that, and Americans should feel assured that the President and his administration is doing everything we can to protect them on that front. My last point, said I was all over the place. One of the places I stopped in last night was to initial the Trump Route for Prosperity in Armenia. This is a key linchpin of the peace deal that you were able to achieve between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And in addition to that, we also signed a critical minerals MOU with them and a strategic engagement one as well. So just a reminder of another war you helped to settle, Mr. President. But from that now we are seeing the emergence of a great new relationship with Armenia that really had grown stagnant for a very long period of time. So we're doing well on that front as well. Thank you.
And could I just ask you, Cuba and Venezuela, what's going on there?
Well, interesting. On Venezuela, that process continues, that 3-phase process, you know, of obviously stabilization, recovery, and transition. I would just say, just since January 3rd of this year, okay, and I think this number's right, and Chris or Doug can correct me on this, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG, and it's for the first time ever the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Cuba's in a lot of trouble because, unfortunately for them, it's run by a bunch of incompetent communists. being communist is bad. Being an incompetent communist is like the worst. And but the country's been taken over by this company called Gaesa that basically controls 70% of the economy. None of the money in that company goes to help the Cuban people. None of it. So we'll be talking to them. We'll be working on it. You know, we want something good for the Cuban people, and hopefully there'll be a good outcome there for them. There needs to be. It's 90 miles from our shores, and having a failed state 90 miles from our shores is a threat to the national security of the United States.
So we're producing right now more oil by double than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. There's never been anything like that. We don't need oil, we don't need the Straits, we don't need anything, but we have more oil now being produced by double, by 2 times, than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. A great stat. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I would, President Trump, under your leadership, we've opened up lease sales on public land. This is land that was put away for the benefit and the use of the American people, like the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. The Biden administration had illegally stopped holding lease sales during their administration. President Trump famously said, drill, baby, drill, but before you can drill, you've got to open public lands. Between the lease sales that have happened in the Permian, in the Bakken, and on the North Slope, just since January of this year, it's over $4 billion of revenues come into the Treasury. That's 13 times more than the Biden administration brought in on lease sales in the entire 4 years they're in office. Sir, your policies brought that in 5 months. So with that, a lot of excitement, a lot of activity. We also inherited, just in one district in Carlsbad, New Mexico, 5,600 unprocessed applications to drill for oil and gas on public land. And when we're drilling on public land, those companies pay a royalty, and that money comes to all of our citizens, and it goes to local school districts, and it goes to states. It is the core of the economy in parts of our country. The team down there working for the Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, has dropped that by 91%. It's one of the reasons why they had a record lease sale. It's because now people go, I can bid on federal land and I'm going to get a permit to drill, and it's not going to take me 5 years to get it. I'm going to get it in a month or less. And so it's exciting to see your vision. And of course, with this energy dominance, us, as you just noted, largest oil producer in the world, largest natural gas producer in the world, largest natural gas exporter. This is an opportunity for us to bring prosperity and affordability here at home, but also bring peace abroad. So President Trump, your energy dominance strategy with Chris Wright, Lee Zeldin, and all the people that are working on this, people around the room, it's been really incredible. And of course, you mentioned Venezuela, but all that flowing to our Gulf Coast refineries is also helping to keep the price of gas down at home. So again, it's an amazing transformation. Bottom line is the center of geopolitics around energy has moved from other parts of the world to the Western Hemisphere in the last 5 months. You turn Venezuela from a sanctioned adversary into a strategic ally in 45 minutes. Never happened in history before. And what's going on in Alaska, when I was there last week in Alaska, the North Slope, 80,000 barrels a day coming online at Pico. That wouldn't have happened with you. It's up by Willow on the North Slope. That's going into the Alaska pipeline. 20% increase just off that one field. So amazing work. Energy's a high-tech industry, and those guys are crushing it, and they're loving the fact that they can provide affordable, reliable, secure energy for America.
And we're working very hard in California. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but California has tremendous oil reserves. It used to be number 3 in the nation, and the radical left has just wiped it out. And we're working very hard to get that open again and get it so the people, their gasoline prices, their lack of energy is just staggering. It's staggering. And we're actually making very good progress. Even people that were against that at one point, now they're saying, wow, that'd be great. But people don't realize it was one of the, right, Chris? It was one of the top drilling states, one of the, I would say in terms of reserves, as among the top in the country. Nobody thinks of that with California. Everything was just closed down, really violently closed down. And we're opening up some of it, and we're being met with actually great spirit, because they're paying so much for gasoline that they don't have to be doing that. And they have a very incompetent group of leaders, like grossly incompetent, So I think that's going to be something. On a slightly smaller subject, while Doug was speaking, Department of Interior, he and his people have done a fantastic job on DC. DC is looking beautiful. The fountains are almost all open. We had 28 of them. And we have one in particular, a very long lake, we call it, the reflecting lake, between the Lincoln Monument. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You take a look at, between Lincoln and Washington, you have the longest, like 2,400 feet long. That's longer than the tallest building in the world if you set it on its side. And it's almost 200 feet wide. And actually it was built in 1922, and from 1922 on, it really never worked. It always leaked, and it was a problem, and a lot of things. And hundreds of millions was spent. The Biden administration and the Obama administration spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get it to work, and they failed. And we'll be spending, you'll give me a number, but I think it's a very low number. It's like in the number that we originally talked about, where we cleaned it, we fumigated it. We had 10 major truck dumpsters of garbage taken out. Can you believe it? A friend of mine came in, very substantial person from Germany, wanted to see the Washington Monument. I wanted to see the Lincoln Memorial. He said, I look, but that horrible reflecting pond is disgusting. It's filthy, dirty, and disgusting. I said, really? I drove down. I said, Secret Service, let's take a drive. And we went down. I said, that's terrible. And for the most part, it didn't work. I mean, they wouldn't even have water in there. But when they did, it was just dirty, filthy water that leaked out. And we got to work on it. And it was supposed to cost almost $400 million, because it's like putting the skin on a skyscraper, but bigger, much bigger. Many skyscrapers, you could almost say, other than for the world's tallest. Think of it, the world's tallest skyscraper is shorter than 2,400 feet. So we went to work, and over the years I built hundreds of pools. I build them every time I built a building. I always like to build Olympic-sized swimming pools, and I was very aware swimming pool, what goes into making a swimming pool. It's not as simple as people think. You never want it to leak. You want to have beautiful surface. I said, you know, I have an idea, Doug. We sat down. I said, let's take that long thing where we're going to fix it with concrete, which leaks, concrete, all sorts of other materials that all leak and don't look good. They're gray. And, you know, swimming pool, I have a swimming pool right up the road. I built it 22 years ago. It's perfect. I said, does it ever leak? No. It's perfect. Good contractors. I actually called in a couple of the contractors, got some ideas from them.
Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm seeing a couple of things happening live right now for you. I want to see if we can bring you on out to Houston, Texas. This is a rally for Democratic lawmaker James Tallarico. He's hoping to run against Ken Paxton, Republican in the state. So our sister station has provided us this live camera from that rally. Hopefully we can listen in together. I want to get you guys some more information on who's speaking and what is being brought up. We'll be with you in a second on that.
Rare. Integrity. Humility. And service. Imagine that. Ken Paxton, who serves his wealthy allies, and James Tallarico, who actually serves the people of Texas. While Ken Paxton fought against workers getting paid leave, James Tallarico was fighting to ensure that we capped insulin prices to lower health care costs. While Ken Paxton focused on political stunts and culture wars, James Tallarico has focused on improving public education in schools, increasing teacher pay, and expanding opportunities for families for child care and better housing. That is the undeniable difference in this race, in this election. Ken Paxton, who sees government as a means of a weapon for the powerful, and James Tallarico sees government as a tool and a responsibility for all of us as community to help others. We are here tonight because the truth is, Texans, we are exhausted. We are here to tell everyday Texans ready to show up in November that we are exhausted by the Republican anger. We are exhausted by the Republican corruption, and we are exhausted by politicians who will tell us to look at the increasing stock market on Wall Street and be happy, even though we can't pay for our gas, our groceries, our housing, and our utility bills. We, the people, are here tonight to let them know that we are done with the chaos. We are ready for honesty and decency, and we want leaders who actually will serve to ensure that each of us has a better opportunity to afford to live and raise our children in a welcoming state. That is the Texas that James Tallarico believes in, and we are here tonight because we choose a government of integrity over corruption. We choose service over self-interest, and we choose people over politics. And so we are here tonight because it is not only time for us to organize, we the people are ready to speak out. We the people are ready to vote, because the future doesn't have to look like the one that the Republicans are peddling, that is nothing more than fueled by fear, division, and hate. But the future of the state of Texas is one of hope and opportunity. That day now comes as the Democratic Party is led by my friend, the man who will lead us through November and ensure that hope, opportunity, and integrity is restored to the great state of Texas. The next U.S. Senator from Texas, James Tallarico.
Houston, Texas. Give it up for Ann Johnson. Give it up for the legend, Rodney Ellis. Are y'all ready to take back Texas? Are y'all ready to beat Ken Paxton? There is something happening in Texas. I can feel it in the air. We are building a movement to take back our state and take back our country. We are uniting all Texans on one team to take on this broken, corrupt political system. We have recruited more than 45,000 volunteers who are doing the organizing work all over our communities. We have shattered grassroots fundraising records, all without taking a dime from corporate PACs. And on November 3rd, we're going to do something extraordinary. We're going to end 30 years of one-party rule in Texas and elect a senator who's going to serve all of us. We have forgotten that that's what politics is supposed to be about, service. Elected officials are not supposed to serve themselves or their donors. They're supposed to serve us. I first learned the meaning of service from my great-grandfather, my papi. He was a barber in Port O'Connor, Texas, who served this country in World War II in the Pacific Theater. He was a member of the greatest generation, a group of Americans who asked not what their country could do for them, but what they could do for their country. Whether he was cutting his neighbor's hair or fighting fascism on the other side of the world, Papi was always serving others. He was a faithful man. He tried to live like Jesus, who, in the words of Scripture, came not to be served, but to serve. Papi's favorite Bible story was in the Gospel of Matthew, when Jesus' disciples are all jockeying for position, and he tells them, the rulers of this world lord their power over the people, but among you, it will be different. The greatest among you will be a servant. The greatest among you will be a servant. That is a countercultural idea.
We've been listening in as James Tallarico has finally taken the stage. He's addressing his supporters at this rally being held right now in Houston, Texas. And I just want to remind you all that will be running against Ken Paxton in the November 3rd general election. And it's probably going to be a tough race. So with the primaries, Texas actually, they broke a record for how much Senate primaries had spent on ads. So when it was Paxton and Cornyn, who, by the way, it came out to be that President Donald Trump finally endorsed Paxton, who will be running against Tallarico. When it was between them, I'm seeing that Cornyn spent about $16 million for the runoff race. Paxton spent $3.7 million. And so now, of course, his attention will be turned to James Tallarico. We're going to see what those ads look like for the state of Texas. I'm sure that we here in Pennsylvania will also be hearing about it. These are really big races that we are hearing, that we're learning more and more about as it pertains to the general election, but we also know that what happens in the general election will likely have an impact on what we see with the presidential election, also with just legislation in general to come forward. So a lot of eyes are on that. Now that's happening across the country, down south. I want to make sure that we're also keeping up with what's happening right here in our neck of the woods. So earlier today, the Philadelphia Eagles, they had their OTAs, their voluntary practice, and we got to hear from Coach Nick Sirianni, but we also got to hear from Jalen Hurts. He addressed some of the media's biggest questions, and one of them happens to be about A.J. Brown. See if we can listen in.
How we doing? What are your first impressions of Sean's offense and where you fit into it?
Yeah, it's been a really good process so far. He's come in and he's very clear, giving good direction. You can definitely see the vision, been able to answer all of my questions. Very instructive, very helpful. So it's been a very enjoyable journey so far.
How many differences do you expect in this offense versus what you guys have been running previously?
I mean, I think that's relative, but, you know, ultimately it's a different leader, different coordinator, different philosophical approach. So it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to learn the new brand of football, get new perspective, and just grow.
In the past, when there's been changes, you described sponge mode. I guess, has that changed for you, or do you take the same approach?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same. I'm always trying to get hip to hip with the play caller, get as much direction as I can so I can go out there and execute the offense as he sees it. And over time, you grow, as a quarterback where you feel like you can make it your own. And so I just want to ingrain myself into what we're doing and go out there and prove every day. These are pivotal reps, very important reps right now that we get. And so I think they'll be good for us.
Sean used the word blend. Like you said, blend what he's bringing in, things he's adamant about, and the things that you're comfortable with. How much is that process a blend going on right now?
Yeah, I think right now it's more so laying down the foundation for what we're doing. And that's what OTAs is for. Laying down the foundation for what we're doing, and then over time you get to kind of mesh some things. And you go at his pace. I'm going at his pace. He's like I said, been very instructive, and he's been very intentional about what he's doing, why he's doing it, marrying things, and kind of getting that shared belief for us all. So I think that's been good for us as a team, as an offense. And, there are components of what we've done in the past that I know he loves. And he says, hey, man, we've done this really well. This unit has done this really well. We'll see where that fits in. But it's still being installed as we speak. So we do installs daily. We're taking everything in daily, and we're going out there and executing and kind of learning as we go. But it's been good.
You've done a lot of under center since coming to the NFL, more of it increasingly. Obviously, that's a big part of the Shanahan McVay type scheme.
Yeah.
How has that progress been going, and is it any different in Sean's scheme than it was previously? What you did in Nick and Callan?
Yeah, I think you can throw anyone under center. I think the question you ask is why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you doing? What are you complementing? What's your MO behind what you do? And so philosophically, it's different than what we've done in the past. I think generally speaking, in the action game, you're influencing different players, running different play action schemes, where it's a pull scheme or a gap scheme or an inside zone, outside zone. So there's a whole idea, and one thing I really appreciate what he's saying, not just in playing team football on offense, but individually, and it aligns with Coach Sirianni and what he's been spitting about the cohesiveness and the togetherness and the end of the rope that we all have to hold to make sure we're all on the same page and we're being the best that we can be. Everybody's got to do their 1/11th, and everybody has a job, everybody has a task, and everybody has to push themselves to uphold that for the guy next to them. And so everything is connected, from a timing standpoint, and we're just pushing to establish that as a unit.
If AJ is traded, how would that affect the offense? How would that affect you?
Picked the right question to sip on, huh? I think for us, we're focused on learning the offense. It really doesn't change in terms of our approach to improve. There's an if. Obviously been a lingering thing, but nothing can replace all the greatness that we achieved together.
Jalen, a lot was made of your relationship with AJ in regards to his trade. Where are you two at, I guess? I know friendships are complicated.
Yeah, nothing's changed since we last spoke at the end of the season. We're really good, and I saw how beautiful the pictures came out at his wedding. I'm very happy for him and his wife and his family, and it's a beautiful thing to step into covenant. So I was very excited and congratulatory towards that.
When you look at the wide receiver room, you obviously added a couple of free agents, traded for Dontavian, and also added Makai Lemon. What are your thoughts on the depth of that room now, and maybe how Devontae has looked so far as well?
Yeah, well, there was a time where Devontae was the guy coming in, so I know everyone has a lot of confidence in him, and then obviously Makai and Wicks and Dallas and the whole unit. Ultimately, I think the thing is just learning, what Coach Sean is installing and the direction we're going in with him. And that's a collective thing that we all have to be bought into. And so we all have to build that shared belief and going out there and learning our jobs, learning how we want to do it, and then kind of building an identity as we go forward.
Your rushing attempts last year were down. How do you sort of reflect on that? Do you think that's something that needs to be implemented more this upcoming season?
Yeah, I think that's ultimately up to the direction we go in when we establish our identity and who we want to be. I always want to do whatever it takes to win. I also know that there's a element of sequencing and intentions, from a play calling perspective in that, but I'm always willing to do whatever it takes.
This is like an annual thing where we ask you about the new play caller, the new OC. How has your experiences here with a different guy each year, other than Shane for a year and a half, how has that kind of made this process easier as far as learning how to cope with the change?
Yeah, that's a twofold question. My process, it hasn't changed, since college. It hasn't changed at all. I learn as much as I can, build with the coach, and see what his direction is, what his vision is, ask the right questions. It's been the same exact process, and I've learned a lot on that journey. But I do really want to become an expert at the position, and I want to grow within the position, and that's obviously hard to do when it's always changing, but that's not going to stop me from trying to be the best that I can be. So I'm just trying to grow, taking the coaching that I can so I can be the best I can be for the team.
Something more. With the new scheme potential changes that could occur, if you are under center more, there's probably less opportunities for you to run the ball, typically shotgun because of zone read kind of stuff. Is that something that you would accept as you move on further into your career, as you see quarterbacks run less to prolong their careers?
Yeah, well, I don't think that's something that I can manage. It's ultimately up to what we're doing as an offense and how we put everything together. I think, when you look back about, 2020 and 2021 and those times, we were a heavy gun team, ran a lot of inside zone, ran a lot of RPO, got to the edge a good bit, and defense was different too. And the game has changed. That doesn't mean that you remove those elements, but again, the base of the offense was, running inside zone, and that's not typical for this West Coast type of style. So I think that's a natural difference. And then I think from a pass game standpoint, as things have evolved, we were very one-on-one dependent, try and find a matchup instead of full flow West Coast style offense. So it's a component where I think it's up to how we put it all together. And I got a lot of good trust in where we are right now to, be hopeful of what's to come.
All right, so from there, as you could see, the Eagle logo came back up. So Jalen Hurts was wrapping up his commentary there at the OTAs. We'll hear from another one of their star players in a little bit. Just so you all are aware of what's still live right now, James Tellerico is still speaking live in Houston, Texas. We'll be able to bring you guys live back out to it, let you hear more of his speech in just a little bit, but I also want to make sure that we're keeping up to date with everything that's happening here locally. This is Fox 29 Philadelphia, so we'll be going over some of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware's biggest headlines, national headlines, and then trying to bring you back out to James Tellerico when we come back. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. We've got a lot of headlines to break down with you, and some of them, I'm just going to give you that warning right now, are pretty disturbing. So starting off with this information that we have gotten from the Attorney General, Dave Sunday. He says that charges have been announced against a man, 46 years old. His name is Adam Benjamin Arena. He says he's been charged with more than 100 felonies. He's accused of putting together some material. They're saying this is child abuse material. Also, dozens of misdemeanor counts of invasion of privacy. They say he installed hidden cameras in a home there in Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. They say most of these cameras were put in the shower/bathroom area, and that he was trying to capture a child undressing in various different stages of maybe getting ready to go to the shower or using the restroom. Now, like I said, officials are saying that at least one camera was actually placed in a shampoo bottle, which was discovered by the child victim. This is information that we are getting, again, from the Attorney General's office. So while these are just charges, he's going to have to face a court and maybe have his court case be heard by maybe a jury, or maybe it's just going to be the judge himself or herself. But very disturbing accusations here. Also very serious accusations that we are hearing about. We're also hearing that there's a New Jersey council member who's also a longtime youth sports coach who's accused of stealing $6,000 from a youth basketball team that he was over. So this is Bruce Darrow, 73 years old, of Brooklawn that we're talking about here. He's been charged with third-degree theft, and the Gloucester City Police Department has put out this information. Again, this is somebody who has been charged, not convicted, so he's going to have his day in court and speak to that. He's been a boys basketball travel coach for 26 years, at least that's what his bio says. So this is, again, very serious accusations. That's a lot of money over a long period of time they're talking about here. So we're waiting to see what happens with that. If you guys are interested in going to the FIFA Cup World Games, which if you are here in Philadelphia, I have a feeling you might be interested. There's actually an investigation going on right now about ticket pricing and seat assignments. So New York, New Jersey, their attorney generals have actually launched an investigation into the ticket sales because there have been complaints from fans that say they were misled about their seat locations. They're also facing soaring ticket prices, and they are not having it. So right now the investigation will have to look into whether FIFA created some confusion by introducing new premium front category seating after initial tickets had already been sold, which according to critics left some fans with less than desirable seats. So again, that's a big thing that's going on. We're going to keep our eyes on what's happening with New York and New Jersey as that pertains to. Big news for SEPTA travelers, and this is also right in time for the FIFA World Cup if you're interested in going to the Philly game. SEPTA has rolled out some new real-time arrival displays. So it kind of looks like a tablet, but I'm hearing it's not touchscreen. They're at every bus stop, train stop, and they're all right here in South Philadelphia. This is a pilot program. They're seeing how the passengers like it, but essentially it tells you when the next bus is coming. And they say if it works for you guys, if you like it, hopefully you give them some feedback. They've actually got a QR code that I'm hearing you can scan. You actually see one right there on your screen. So you would scan it, let them know what you think. Again, if you enjoy being able to tell when the next bus is coming your way. This is interesting because I've seen this I'm coming from New York. I've seen this in the MTA stations. I don't know that I've seen it at a bus station though. Another thing that I thought was interesting, I was listening in to a report from Jen Lee, one of our reporters here at Fox 29. She was the one who gave us all this information. One of the big questions was whether or not people would deface these displays, they're not iPads, but tablets that are out there in public. And honestly, officials say they're not really worried about it. They think this is going to be something that's extremely helpful to people, and they have a feeling that people aren't going to bother them or deface them. So, you know, that was a concern, but they answered pretty positively about it. And so far, from the people Jen Lee was able to talk to, they're liking this change. So what do you think? Would you like to see the real-time arrival times when you're out there waiting for the bus, especially on a rainy day like this, so you know how long you have to wait? and whether or not you can stop into the nearest cafe for a coffee. All right, so that's what's happening locally. I want to bring you out live to the White House. It is nighttime, but you can still see that big bluish looking thing in the background. That's because on the south lawn of the White House, they're actually building a UFC arena. This is supposed to be finished by June 14th, right in time for President Donald Trump's 80th birthday. They're putting together this octagon-shaped cage on the south lawn. It'll host next month's UFC bout. It's helping mark the nation's 250th anniversary as well. So you're seeing some during the day images, videos of what it's looking like so far. As you see, it's heavily protected by law enforcement as they are putting this together. But President Donald Trump is hoping to see thousands of people. There are going to be seats. There'll be a ringside space, a marching band that will be able to set up. It's honestly supposed to be like this big, big, big experience, again, for President Donald Trump's birthday, but also to celebrate America's birthday. Again, June 14th is when they are hoping to have this be done. It's a 5,000-seat arena that's right outside of the White House. Also want to bring you the latest of what's going on with this war against Iran. Have you guys been keeping up? Because earlier today, Pete Hegseth said that the U.S. will be ready to finish the job if negotiations with Iran were to fail. Now, you also may have heard some headlines that Iran says that the U.S. has once again violated a ceasefire deal. So again, Pete Hegseth says that we're ready to finish the job. These are while peace negotiations between the U.S. and Iran do continue. President Donald Trump was expected to get his cabinet together at Camp David. We actually got to show you a little bit of it not too long ago. And during this next part that I want to bring you out to, we're going to hear the president talk about literally everything from what he says are going to be cheaper prescriptions through TrumpRx, his new website, to the midterm elections, to Tulsi Gabbard's husband. Yeah, he's wishing him a speedy recovery. The president also talked about a lot of different things. I want to bring you on out to that cabinet meeting. Here's just a snippet of what they talked about.
We made the largest ever investment in U.S. military, $1 trillion, and we're asking actually for $1.5 trillion for the coming year. And we have the strongest military anywhere in the world, as you know. You saw what we did with Venezuela. That worked out very quickly. And we're doing really equally as well with, but again, people don't want to write about it, with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. But their Navy is gone, as I've said 1,000 times. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. Right now, I mean, you can speak to Steve Witkoff and Jared. They're doing a good job. But right now, I think it looks like they want to just make a deal. They want to. They have. I don't think they have a choice. They're just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. Their money has no value. Their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. You know, we'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms. People understand it. They know that, very simple, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm doing that for the world. I'm not doing it just for us. And we've had great support from other nations, by the way. We don't need it at all, but we've had great support from other nations. The problem is you always get the support when you don't need it. When you need it, you don't get the support. With Operation Epic Fury, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror never obtains a nuclear weapon, and they won't. Under the leadership of Vice President J.D. Vance, very proud of this, the White House Task Force to eliminate fraud is waging war on waste, fraud, theft, and abuse like nobody's ever seen before. He looks like Elliot Ness. Do you ever see Elliot Ness? I'm telling you, the guys are up there, we're all central casting, standing behind. What a group of people. No, it looks like a movie. I'm going to make a movie out of it, I think. And they're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I just said, he said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, you know, if he does really great, we'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves. And I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. Just talking about one person, he got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, they're crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. We got them. Now we're putting the clamps on, but boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women, too. But I was watching that last night. I said, I'm proud of you guys. In 2 months, we've exposed tens of billions of dollars of defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, Todd, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet? What do you see? I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of, just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen. And no other administration would do what we're doing. They'd let it go. Everybody was getting rich. And I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it by just the numbers of fraudulent people on Social Security, people that are 115 years old, 125 years old, getting payments. It's funny, I said, oh, do those payments get turned back? No, they accept them. Well, somebody's getting the payment. It's not a person that's 125 years old. But that's the least of it. The numbers that we're finding out, we have great people at Social Security. We're going to make our Social Security so strong, so good, that you've never seen anything like it. We're going to protect. I said right from the beginning, we're going to protect our people in Social Security. If the Democrats ever got in, you wouldn't have, Social Security would be bankrupt. People wouldn't be getting anything. Last week, they took down 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota history, as well as the largest autism fraud case ever charged by the federal government. You saw that with millions of dollars just being stolen. Everybody had autism. Everybody had autism, they said. It was incredible, actually. And I've just seen I see what they're doing. You haven't seen anything yet. So congratulations, JD. Be vicious like they are. They're violent people. They're violent, vicious scum. Before asking Vice President Vance to speak about these efforts, I want to express our tremendous gratitude to our outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a terrific person, actually. Come up with some findings that were pretty good. And Tulsi's worked tirelessly to restore trust and focus on the intelligence, and with the intelligence community. They all respected her. They listened to her. She gave us leads that were pretty much, people thought they were dead, and they weren't dead. They were right there, and she was able to expose a lot of things that we used at the FBI with Cash and with Todd and with JD and everybody else. It was amazing. She dramatically reformed the Office of Director of National Intelligence and cutting the staff by 40%, and she prevented countless terrorists and cartel members from entering the United States. She exposed mountains of evidence related to the Russia hoax, probably the greatest hoax in the history of our country. Although, when you look at the fraud coming out, there's a lot of them. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them. But the Russia hoax, a great hoax, a very dangerous hoax, too, and revoked security clearances of officials involved, and she declassified numerous historic documents of special public interest, including related to the JFK and RFK assassinations, which everybody wanted to see. And we're now releasing a lot of things having to do with space. You know, people are very interested in that. It actually became the number one topic. We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally trending #1. Can you believe it? So a lot of people out there are like it, but we're releasing all of that information. And Tulsi, we're praying for you and for your husband. Her husband's not feeling great, but he's going to feel great soon. You're going to get him better. And he's a wonderful guy. So just say hello and thank you for the great work you've done. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so you were just listening in to a little snippet of that cabinet meeting between President Donald Trump and some of the other people, again, in his cabinet, some of his allies. At the very end there, he addressed Tulsi Gabbard, who happened to be in the room. If you guys didn't hear the headline, though, she actually announced not too long ago that her husband had been diagnosed with bone cancer, and that pretty soon she would be, stepping down completely in order to help him, take care of him, and, make sure that she was keeping her focus on him. But I do believe her last day in office is going to be June 30th, so she has quite some time. I believe that is the day that she said that she was going to finish things out. All right, you guys, still ahead. A lot of big things happening around town. We may talk about some of your biggest headlines, but also I want to share your weather forecast with you, so you know what you can do this weekend. It's Wednesday, but Friday is right around the corner. Maybe you have plans to go to the Roots picnic, or maybe a number of the other things that Abigail got to share with us a little earlier on. We'll touch base with everybody and see where we're at when we come back. Welcome back in to Philadelphia Live, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. A lot of big things happening around our neck of the woods, but I also want to talk to you about getting ready for this weekend, or maybe you're even trying to get some plans in tonight. We had that interview a little while ago with Abigail. She shared some of the top things to do. I think tonight she said that there was some opportunity to get out, get a couple of drinks, network right before the Roots picnic, which would be really exciting. But I need to know if the weather's going to hold up for it. So checking in now with Scott Williams, our meteorologist. Scott, how's it looking?
Oh, I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. Low humidity, sunshine, and just a pleasant stretch of weather, Judea, over the next several days. That is what we are going to get. But let's take a little look back, because this past Memorial Day weekend, It was 57 degrees on Saturday. That was it for high temperatures, low 60s on Sunday. Now, at the start of this week, we managed to see some sunshine on Monday. That allowed for temperatures to spike into the mid 70s, and we've actually made it into the low 80s the past couple of days, despite those showers this morning. High today made it to 82 degrees. That is above average for this time of year. Let's look at what we're getting right now. A mixture of some clear skies out there and some cloud cover, and most of the rainfall, it is pretty much out of here. So that boundary is off to our south and west. That's where most of those showers and thunderstorms have remained for this Wednesday evening, along and south of that front. In terms of the severe weather, that's done as well. So we are really turning the corner. Temperatures are still pretty comfortable stepping outdoors here on this Wednesday evening. We're looking at numbers right now, generally in the 70s, 77 degrees right now. Philadelphia temperatures, Northeast Philly at 77. We're looking at numbers 70 degrees currently in Millville. So overnight tonight, those temperatures will be dipping into the low to mid 60s, above average for this time of year. The average low should be in the upper 50s for Philadelphia. We'll bottom out right around 66 degrees. In terms of the weather forecast for tomorrow, we are looking at a mixture of sun and clouds, lowering humidity as those dew points drop. That wind will be out of the north and west. That will be a refreshing change across the area. Pretty uniform temperatures are expected across the area for the city, the suburbs, as well as for the shore because of that land breeze that will be setting up. So take a look at these high temperatures for tomorrow. We're looking at numbers getting into the mid 70s for the shore points. As we move north and west, those temperatures will be in the low 70s. Now, it will be a little gusty out there. We're talking about that northwest wind, anywhere from about 20 to 25 miles per hour for the afternoon, but that's a refreshing breeze. The dew point, that's the measure of moisture in the atmosphere. Today, we've seen dew points in the upper 60s to low 70s, making it feel very muggy, kind of that air you can wear. As we look at some of the dew points now, they're already falling into the 50s far north and west, upper 50s in Berks County, as well as for the Poconos, but still rather muggy for Philadelphia, points south and east into South Jersey and Delaware. Those dew points have been holding pretty steady in the upper 60s out there. So anytime that dew point's above 60, it feels very tropical in nature. But as we look at that forecast for tomorrow, those dew points will be falling through the 50s into the upper 40s. So very refreshing air is in the offing as we get towards your Thursday as well as for the upcoming weekend. Lots of events taking place as we've been talking about. The Atlantic City Air Show is this weekend. Temperatures for tomorrow with that land breeze in the mid 70s, low 70s on Friday, and then we're looking at 66 degrees on Saturday, 67 degrees on Sunday, but a dry forecast and lots of sunshine. So looking good for the air show. What about the Roots Picnic? This final weekend of May, Belmont Plateau for Saturday, high temperatures right around 70 degrees. So a mild forecast, actually below average in terms of the temperatures on Saturday. So cool conditions for your Saturday evening. And then by Sunday, those high temperatures back around 77 degrees. So look at the 7-day forecast as far as those temperatures over the next several days. We're looking at those cooler conditions on Saturday, 71 degrees. And then we're back into the upper 70s for high temperatures kicking off the month of June. Partly sunny skies, 78 degrees as we get toward Monday. Maybe a pop-up shower for Tuesday, upper 70s. Upper 70s for Tuesday into Wednesday of next week. And let's look at that 10-day temperature trend because a lot of consistency in terms of high temperatures next several days. In the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. The only kind of cooler day is Saturday at 71 degrees. And then for next Thursday, for next Friday, we are back into the mid to upper 80s, close to 90 degrees by next Friday. But, I think a lot of folks are excited about the drier trend in that forecast. We're coming off, several days of rainfall, and we needed that rainfall because we've been talking about that drought across the area. It's not going to end the drought, this recent rain, but certainly putting a dent in the drought across our area. Judea?
Interestingly enough, Scott, I'm just coming back from Atlanta. I took a quick little trip for Memorial Day, and I was thinking, you know, oh, hey, I hear that it's going to rain there. I'm going to try to go to Georgia and have like a nice little dry memorial. It rained the entire time. The entire time. So
man.
I couldn't escape it.
Yeah, well, this weekend is for everybody. We're talking about, you know,
Absolutely.
we're talking about, pretty nice weekend for the last weekend of May, closing things out on a positive note.
Amen. Hey, have you been to the Roots Picnic before? Is that a thing? You like it?
It's been a minute. You know, I think I went when I first moved here, but that's been a minute. You know, yeah. I mean, this is going to be big though this year.
Don't tell me that.
Jay-Z's going to be here headlining. We've got Brandy, Erykah Badu. Now, I will say that I do remember a lot of folks were not happy with the weather conditions last year. It was just like a mud pit out there last year. It was at the Mann Center, and the forecast just was not great, but this year it's looking good.
Okay, I think that's exactly what people wanted to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to, you know, put my sister down because I can't think if she's the one. Is it Erykah Badu or is it Lauryn Hill, who they say, you know, comes late to her shows, or sometimes she doesn't come at all? Which one is it?
I think it's Lauren. I think it's Lauren.
Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize,
I think she's
Miss
made,
Badu.
she's made strides. I think she's made strides over the recent years and being a little more
stand
timely.
corrected?
Yeah.
Okay. I was about to say, I wonder if we would be, you know, out there waiting. But the whole reason I asked you about the Roots Picnic, I've been telling everybody I waited too long to get a ticket, and I'm trying to decide, like, did I shoot myself in the foot? Am I going to be okay?
Come on, you're VIP. You're VIP, Judea. Come on, you're VIP, right?
On whose list? Let me know.
I'm sure there's some tickets somewhere, you know?
I'm just going to have to ask, figure out where to go. Scott, thank you so much for giving us a look at our forecast. I think you gave us the best news of the day. It's looking like it's going to be pretty nice. There's so much for you guys to get out there to do and enjoy. Appreciate you, Scott.
Have a good one.
Thank you. All right. So with that being said, again, there's a lot to talk about. I want to get out soon to our sports team. I know Breland Moore is standing by, waiting to talk about it. Of course, Philadelphia Eagles on everybody's radar today because of the OTAs. We'll be chit-chatting with her about that in just a second. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. We're keeping you guys updated on everything that's happening around town. I heard earlier in San Diego, Philadelphia Eagles, they really got this season started, if you will, before the preseason, before the actual season, with some practices. It gives you a good idea of what the team is going to be like. I want to get right out to Breland Moore. I'm sure that you were paying attention to what was happening out there, getting to listen into some of the interviews. Was there anything that surprised you with what's taking place?
Yeah, it's been a crazy day, right? So not only did Christopher Sanchez, first of all, the Phillies sweeping the Padres today out in San Diego, like you mentioned, and Christopher Sanchez breaking that franchise record. And he's still going, by the way. He is still scoreless. He had 7 scoreless innings today, so that was happening. Meanwhile, the Eagles are doing OTAs. And oh, by the way, the Philadelphia Union, the soccer team, fired their head coach, who led the team to a supporter shield just last year, and also is the reigning MLS Coach of the Year. They fire him after 15 games into this season because the Union only have 1 win so far this year. So there is a lot going on here. But yeah, one of the main focuses today, of course, is Eagles OTAs. Everybody's on AJ Brown watch. I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't buy into the who's there, who's not right now, because everything is voluntary. The only thing that is not voluntary, that is mandatory, will be that June 9th and 10th mini camp that's going on there. There were a lot of players out there. You're only going to hear about AJ Brown not being in attendance, but Lane Johnson also wasn't there either, and I'm pretty sure Lane Johnson is very safe and not on the trade block, right? Jihad Campbell was also not in attendance. Jalen Carter also not in attendance as well. So there were quite a few names that were not there, and that could be for any different reason, whether it's, obviously the A.J. Brown situation is probably correct, but in terms of some of the other players, it could be injury, or it could be just a personal issue or an appointment or some sort of something that was going on there. So I tend to not look too much into the absences going on right now, but A.J. is absolutely going to take the brunt of the narrative here. But it was really interesting to hear from the players about Sean Mannion. He's their new offensive coordinator. And Jalen Hurts, in his time with the Eagles, has just had a rotating cast of characters in that position to work with. But Jalen Hurts had some really, really great things to say about Mannion, and so did everybody else today. So that's a really, really promising sign, especially this early in the, I don't want to call it the season because it's not quite, but in these spring sessions, that it seems to be progressing pretty well, and they seem to be moving forward. Now, could that be just lip service? Absolutely. But I'll take it for right now until we can actually get eyes on the operation in training camp and see what's really in store there.
Breland, I enjoy your takes. You keep it real. Like, there's no BS with you. I just have to point that out.
Look, I'm tired of hearing about the AJ thing. I am so over it. It's just an endless stream, and I think they're over it, to be quite honest. Nobody had anything disparaging to say about AJ Brown. Look, my opinion is you don't have to be best friends with your coworkers, right? You just got to make sure that you operate together as a unit and a cohesive unit. That being said, AJ Brown has been very unhappy and it's been very obvious during last season and this recent era of things. We thank him for his service here. We obviously appreciate what he did during Super Bowl 59, but a lot of guys, we don't criticize a player for going to chase a bag, right, and getting paid more. If somebody is chasing something else that they're not getting in this organization, and I do believe that AJ Brown does not feel fulfilled right now with just a championship. He wants to chase stats. He wants to make a case for the Hall of Fame and to punch his ticket to Canton. So go do that. If you need to be on a different team to be able to do that and to be the star of the show, then that's your prerogative. You go on and do that. Thank you very much for your service. I'm tired of hearing about it, to be quite honest. And that kind of was I don't want to say that was the complete sentiment, but it was more like we don't have a problem with AJ. We're good. Whatever happens, happens, Right. And that was kind of, these guys have a job to do, and the outside rumbling of Jalen wasn't at AJ's wedding, that's for the outside. The inside is we've got a job to do, and we're going to take it seriously. And Jalen even said, he's like, it looked like a nice wedding. Like, I'm happy for him. It is what it is, So that was really nice to hear, to just kind of have everybody put the brakes on that a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, is that the attitude that we want? We want to know that you guys are focused on the game, focused on your craft, focused on what you are doing, rather than listening into the hype, feeding into the drama.
Listen, I grew up in the era of Terrell Owens, right? I don't want I don't want people doing push-ups in their driveway, calling their quarterback a bum and like everything else. I don't want that, okay? We have moved past that as an organization. The Eagles are a winning organization now. That's what they care about. That's their focus, is just winning and doing your, I hate to sound like Nick Sirianni, but like doing your 111th, right? Showing up, doing your job, and not feeding into the rest of it. And that's what I personally want to see out of my football team. I know other people maybe want a little bit of a tea time and to be part of the gossip, but I just want them to win. That's all.
You bringing up T.O. is actually hilarious. Do you remember he had what was it, like a reality TV show?
Yes.
Yes, the whole thing. We
sure
won't get
do.
into it. We won't get into it.
He's a very interesting individual.
Yeah, he is. So is Chad Ochocinco. But again, we won't get into it.
Correct.
Anyway, back to the Philadelphia Eagles. For the players who were there, who spent their time talking to the media, got to listen to a couple of different players. I let our audience listen to Nick Sirianni, the head coach, a little earlier. We, of course, listened to Jalen Hurts. Next up, I want to let them listen in to Saquon. Is there anything that he said that you want to tease, or should we just go ahead and listen?
Yeah, just go ahead and listen. But yeah, he also said the same thing. He's like, I don't have a bad thing to say about A.J. Brown. And also kind of echoed Jalen's sentiments as well. But yeah, really insightful from Saquon. But definitely downplaying the drama surrounding this team at this moment.
All right, Breland, thank you. Let's go listen on into Saquon Barkley.
Let's go.
I'm excited to work with him. I think he's been doing a really good job. He's super smart. He works really hard. Not only him, but all the offensive staff, especially new guys. And right now, we're just working on building the foundation. And it's been fun so far.
What kind of changes do you see with the running attack and the lineage that Sean Mannion, has had with the running team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to get too deep into the X and O's right now. Really focus on just building the foundation and buying into that. Obviously, there's some different stuff than we did previously, but yeah, I think it's a great plan that he's putting together, and now it's just taking it step by step and coming to work every single day and improving on it.
It's not to get too deep into the scheme stuff, but it has been known to have a lot more under center plays. What does that do for a running back? Getting the ball from under center.
Yeah, under center you can see it a little clear. You're not blinded, and when you're in gun, you're really kind of focused on this side. You're able to get your shoulder square easier. I don't know if y'all know what that means. Like when if you have an inside run, from gun, you got to really work on getting your shoulder square so you can see the whole field. From under center, it's easier. You can get downhill a little quicker. You could threaten them with stretches and outside zone a lot more. There's a lot of unique things you can do. And yeah, it's not no secret what the system is about. And look forward to doing that. Probably be the most I've ever done it, under center too, and outside zone and all that good stuff. But it's a challenge I'm looking forward to work on to get better at and try and be the best at it.
Have you been watching any other backs that have been working in similar systems across the league this offseason?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of guys that do it in the system right now, but one guy that I've been focused on and talked to him a little bit over Instagram, Todd Gurley, watching kind of his film. Obviously, it's a little bit different, but the big years that he had when he was playing and when he was healthy, the way that he attacked it. But I do that no matter what in offseason. Watch guys that are in the league right now who I'm fans of, the Bijan, the Gibbs, McCaffrey, Henry, Jonathan Taylor's of the world, and also go back to the OGs and watch them, just see what I can add to my game, and just always looking forward to improving my game also.
Did you reach out to Todd?
Yeah, I kind of sent a clip of him on IG. Yeah, I was a big fan of Todd when I was coming up, and I don't think I ever got to play against him actually. But yeah.
Has this offseason been different? Is probably not. Has this offseason been different for you? In the amount you can relax and kind of like build into the season as opposed to last year coming off the Super Bowl and what you did that season.
Yeah, it's a little easier when you don't have to get ready right after Super Bowl. Obviously the season didn't go as long as we want the year before, but yeah, you get a little more time to work on yourself. I felt like I was able to get myself into better shape coming into the off season. I think that's a given for everybody. Just the fact that you have extra weeks to prepare. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a fun off season. Got some time to relax, get my body back, get my body right, and now we're back into the grind of it.
As far as the stretch, the outside zone, is it fair to say you got to be more patient as a runner versus inside?
No, I wouldn't say that. You actually kind of inside. You want to be a little bit more patient. You want to, your jump cut is kind of important. If you want to be a good inside zone runner, in my opinion, you have to have a great jump cut. Guys who do really well in, outside zone scheme stuff are more like one cut backs. I naturally, especially after my ACL, I naturally like to cut off a two. So just prepping myself, it's kind of fun going back to I'm a little kid again, just working on my steps, working on my little details and techniques. But also knowing that I'm explosive off of two legs, so incorporating into that. But I wouldn't say there's a difference in patience. Also blocking a little different. Outside zone is taught different throughout different schemes. And just being, having a mindset of attacking it more, stretching them, getting the defense to expand, and then when you get the opportunity to put your foot in the ground, do it fast, violent, and physical.
How long did you give yourself to reflect on last season, and how quickly did you kind of turn the page?
I turned it pretty quick. You get that little breakup phase, I guess you can call it, 2 or 3 weeks. But everything happens for a reason. Obviously, we don't like the way the season ended. I personally don't like how my year went. I don't like how I performed for the team. I don't feel like I performed at a high enough level, and that's the beauty of it. It's easy when you rush for all these yards and you win a Super Bowl. It's easy to watch film and move on to the next chapter. But when it doesn't go the way you want it to be, you got to lock in even more, be more detailed in yourself, be more critical of yourself. You got to be your biggest self-critic, and just going back and watching film and seeing what I can do better. And then you find the weaknesses that you lacked the year prior, and you just go. Can I say balls to the wall? You said balls to the wall. I guess you can. I don't know if I can say that or not. In the off season, and this is what this process and this portion is for. Coming in here and learning the playbook. My favorite part is getting back around the guys and building that together part. I feel like it's really important. I feel like we had that really well in 24, and I think that's a big part of why we were able to accomplish things we want to accomplish. So being in the building and being around these guys is super important to me, but also just working on little stuff that I need to work on and always trying to improve.
Say with AJ not being here, for most of the spring, and obviously pretty much expected that he won't be here next week. How as a leader have you guys addressed the elephant in the room that isn't here?
I don't think we really addressed it. It's football. It's the National Football League. I think if you it's gonna be a hard time for me to say anything bad about AJ Brown. I'm a big fan of AJ Brown. One of my really good friends, one of my favorite teammates I've ever been around. Just respect him as a man. But this is the business. It's the NFL. If I'm not here, if Jalen's not here, if whoever's not here, the show goes on. And that's just how the NFL operates. So you don't really address it. It's not really anything to be addressed. You just go about your work and keep getting better. And whatever happens, it's above my pay grade. And I'm just focused on being the best player that I can be, and also be the best leader I can be for this team going into the next season.
When you talk about how you felt like you could have played better last year, is there any one specific thing you've kind of honed in on that you want to do better, or is it just everything?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. One thing that I could focus on that I felt like caught my attention the most is just, for whatever reason, some years you just have better playmaking ability than others. Whether you feel better, whether you feel faster, whether you feel stronger. Sometimes that's kind of how the game goes. You could make the right decision. You could be, locked into your details and follow the play, and it makes you into the wrong decision. There's times where you make that same move and you break that tackle, and instead of slipping, you keep that foot up and you break it for 60. So just being a better playmaker. That's why I was brought here. That's why I feel like I'm one of the best in the league, and just bringing that back. I feel like that could help us in a lot of games, and I didn't do it enough.
We'll do a couple more. As far as feeling better, you played 3 more games previous year. You had 130, I think, fewer carries than you did in 2024. Do you feel better this offseason than you did last offseason?
I would say physically, you feel any different. Just going to the Super Bowl is long. It's a long season. It's more mentally draining than anything. But physically, no, it's no different. After the year I had, or however many touches I had, coming into camp, I felt great. Coming into season, I felt great. Sometimes just don't go hand in hand with football. I think if you ask a lot of athletes, a lot of professional athletes, some years are better than others. I think if we were able to figure that out, whoever finds that out, finds a secret sauce there, they'll probably be the best of all time. But it's a challenge each year. It's hard to stack them, and you just got to improve each year to try to get better.
What have you seen from Jalen Hurts? Obviously, maybe coming off a year, he probably wanted to do better, just like you. But going into a new scheme again with a different play caller, learning this system under Sean Mannion.
Yeah. Let's see what I expect to see. It's Jalen Hurts. I feel like the reason why this team's been super successful, there's a lot of like-minded guys, whether it's him, whether it's myself, whether it's Jordan, whether it's Lane, Zach, the list goes on and on, of guys who just have the will of wanting to get better and wanting to learn and improve. And, I see the same thing from him that I see from Jordan, that I see from Smitty. Even some of the coaches been in different systems before, got to adjust to this. That's what it's all about. You got to have the will to learn and the will to improve. And by any means, I think we all could agree Jalen has that.
How do you feel about the last one? We got Bond coming down.
At age 29, entering year 9, what perspective do you have of how to be effective at this point in your career?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer. You put the work in, and the work will take care of itself. Doesn't mean it's going to guarantee you anything. I think I've spoken that before. I had to learn the hard way when I was younger, that if you just work hard, you're going to have a great year. If you just work hard, you're going to have this amount of yards and this amount of accolades and be a chance to win a Super Bowl. It doesn't work like that. But even though it doesn't guarantee you anything, it gives you a hell of a chance. So I'm always going to have the mindset of putting the work in, whether it's physically or mentally, whether it's strength, whether it's speed, mobility, all those things that I need to improve as a player. I'm going to have that same mindset, whether I'm 29, whether I'm 21, or if I'm 33. Just as I got older, I just became a little more disciplined and consistent in it.
Thanks, everybody.
It's good seeing you.
All right, so that there was Saquon Barkley talking a little bit about what he's hoping for the season ahead. And of course, they had to ask him about A.J. Brown, but, to be honest, they didn't give them much of anything. No sound bites off of him. Now, we have some breaking news that I want to make sure getting out to you. Our helicopter just flew over this scene. It's very close to Fairmount Park, might even be within the boundaries. We're hearing from police, though, that they were called, the E911 call. They say there was a person with a gun, so they rushed out to the scene. When they got there, they found 2 victims, a 27-year-old woman and a 28-year-old man. So they say the woman, she had a gunshot wound in her back. The 28-year-old man, they say he had been shot in his left leg. Both of them were rushed to Penn Presbyterian Medical Center. It looks like they're in stable condition, but that's all police have told us right now. They haven't given us any indication of who may have done this, why they may have done this, and of course they are not giving any identifying information besides their ages on that man and the woman, the 2 victims in this case. Again, so far there's no more additional information, but our helicopter got out to the scene where you can see law enforcement on the scene, their red and blue lights flashing as they are investigating what's going on over there. Again, we heard that 2 people were shot near Philadelphia's Fairmount Park area. It also looks like maybe that black car is somewhat involved, because it looks like all of the officers' vehicles are pointed towards it. But again, that's all the information that I have so far on what is developing over there. Can tell you that around about 10 o'clock, when our news coverage takes over, our broadcast news coverage takes over, hopefully we'll be able to bring you some more information. But that is the latest there on that. Now, still ahead, want to bring you some trending news, what's going on around town, what's Philly talking about, and of course, we've got our question of the night. I'll pose it to you in a second. Welcome back to Philadelphia Live. I'm Judea Murray. Brought Jake Leonard back up to the desk. We're talking all things what's Philly talking about, but I've got a question for the people.
Yes.
So I was scrolling on
Okay.
social media,
As one does.
as I do, and I saw this video that caught my attention. The caption on it was like, what was it? Is inconvenience the price of community is
Okay.
inconvenience? That was her
Okay.
caption. But essentially what
Interesting.
happened, she came across a post, like as people
Right.
scroll, and she says in the video, this girl was talking about how she thought it was a huge inconvenience that a friend of hers asked her to pet sit, and also she threw in there that she wasn't going to be paid, so she was like, I have to
Okay.
come to your house, I've got to put myself out, this isn't worth it, this is inconvenient for me.
Right.
And the girl thought that, you know, the comment section, they were going to eat her up, like, hey, this is your friend. They did not. They agreed with her.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
her video, her perspective was, actually, I think that if it's for the betterment of someone else, you should be willing to inconvenience
Right.
yourself. That's how we build community. That's why we don't have community.
Right.
So I want to know, what do the people think? Who's right, who's wrong? Where do you fit in it?
Yeah, so we wanted to know what you guys thought. So
Mhm.
we ran a poll. As always, you can find it fox29.com/go vote under the Fox Local tab. We also asked you guys on all our social media platforms, so Facebook, X, Instagram, and we just posed the question simply, are you willing to inconvenience yourself to help others? And my faith in humanity is restored because 62% of people do say yes, 23% say no, and then 15% say other, leave a comment. So looking on our social media pages, a lot of people are saying, you know, it depends on what it is, which I feel like is a valid thing. They're like, are you asking someone to give up their seat on a bus? Or are you asking someone to jump in front of a bus?
Oh,
so
that's very inconvenient.
two very
Mhm.
extreme things. But I understand the point. It does depend. I feel like this is a very broad question, but I don't know. I don't have an issue inconveniencing myself. You know, like I feel like it kind of goes back to the classic question of, are you willing to pick your friend up from the airport?
Oh,
You know?
And you know what? That I have heard, and I tend not to judge people depending on what city. Like
Yes.
the Atlanta airport,
100%. It definitely depends.
LAX. You love me if you pick me up
Yes.
from LAX or you drop me off to LAX. I know it's real, but I feel like in cities like that, I wouldn't be too offended for something like that.
Yes.
But then for something as simple as pet sitting, I've been
Pet
asked
sit.
to pet sit before.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of certain pets, but yeah, I mean, I did it. My friend needed
Yeah,
help,
there we go.
and I didn't get paid for it.
I think this is, and it's kind of ironic that I'm saying this because I am very young, but I think this is a Gen Z generational thing. A lot of like young people, not to sound like Ankh, but I think our generation, you know, because of like COVID and stuff, are kind of, I don't want to say loners, but like kind of in a way we isolated a lot, and I think when it like we don't have a big sense of community in the way that like our parents do, you know?
100%. Actually, great example. My mom is all the time. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna be in such and such city. Hit up your cousin." Da, 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 da. And there's a difference between the cousins that I used to have sleepovers with at grandma's.
Yeah, the ones that you were close with.
Yes, but then there's also the cousins that she's close with.
Right.
She grew up with. I don't know him from a can of paint. you
Right.
know? So I don't feel as comfortable making that phone call. And
Right.
she doesn't understand that.
No.
And I think you're right. It is a
Right,
generational
100%,
gap.
100%. I don't know. I think it's a very interesting debate. You know, there's a bunch of factors. Again, what are they asking you to do?
Yep.
What are the outside circumstances? But I don't know. Like, I would pet sit.
I would pet sit. Well, again, it depends on what kind of pet.
Right.
But I asked on TikTok as well not too long ago, and finally we've just started to get some people weighing in. Cal Pacino, love your name by the way, says depends. If the situation inconveniences me less than it aids the other person or people, then I
Okay.
don't see why I shouldn't help. So if I'm not putting
Interesting.
myself too much out of the way.
100%. You know, like if you have to stop in on your way to work just to, like feed the cat or something, it's like it's
I don't
no
have to
biggie.
pay for the food either. You already bought the food. I just have to
Right.
put it in the dish.
Yeah. So interesting stuff.
Well, I'm glad that we restored your faith in humanity.
100%.
Again, this has been Jake Leonard, you guys. I'm Judea Murray. You have been watching Philadelphia Live. We break down the news, headlines, breaking news, all that stuff in a really real format. But if you like the TV broadcast format a lot better, coming up next, don't go anywhere. The news continues at 10 o'clock.